I will now call to order the Arvada City Council meeting for July 15th, 2024. At this time, I will call on Councilmember Foray to lead us in a moment of silent reflection and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Please join me in a moment of silent reflection. And now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Rush, will you please do the roll call?
Mayor Simpson, Mayor Pro Tem Mormon,
Here.
Councilmember Ambrose,
Hello, testing.
Good.
Councilmember Ambrose, you were called for attendance. Roll call. You are muted currently.
we will.
There we go.
Okay. Councilmember Ambrose, you are being called for roll call.
Here.
Councilmember Davis,
Here.
Councilmember Foray,
Here.
Councilmember Pfeiffer,
Here.
Councilmember Marriott.
Here.
Thank you, Ms. Rush.
Yeah, I'd like to make the motion to excuse Mayor Simpson from tonight's business meeting.
Everyone, please cast your vote. Oh, I have to, sorry. And Councilmember Ambrose, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right. Trying to see, sorry. Not everyone has voted. Who is? Oh, Mr. Marriott. Thank you. All right, that passes 6-0 with Mayor Simpson excused. Next, we will do the approval of the minutes. Presented are the minutes of the City Council business meeting dated July 1st, 2024. Are there any changes or corrections? Seeing none, the minutes will stand as presented. Next, we have recognitions. Councilmember Foray will present the recognition of Angelica Daughtry, recipient of Adams County Mayors and Commissions Youth Awards.
Thank you so much. So this award is a really prestigious award that is given in Adams County. And as you know, Arvada is also part of Jefferson County and Adams County. And we had one recipient in Arvada who stood above the rest, and we really wanted to recognize her. Her name is Angelica Daughtry, and this award is given to someone who overcomes personal adversity and really becomes successful in the community and in their personal life. And we really just want to highlight how not everyone has an easy life, and it's very hard to overcome some of these challenges. And we just really want to recognize some of the community members that can overcome that adversity. So, Angelica, are you in the audience? All right, come on down.
Angelica, you are welcome to say a few words if you would like.
Okay. First off, I want to say thank you. I do appreciate being considered for it and getting the award. I would say this little one is the biggest and most happiest change in my life. So to be recognized, to overcome all the struggles through that, it means a lot. That's all.
Well, thank you. Congratulations. Next, our item is a presentation on Sierra Elementary's second grade science project. This is something that
Your
I'm
Honor?
looking forward to. Yes.
Your Honor, there's one other recognition that Councilmember Pfeiffer will present.
Thank you. My apologies. Councilmember Pfeiffer, you are next with the present the recognition of Ralston Valley Girls Tennis Team 5A Championship.
Who's from the Ralston Valley girls tennis team? You want to come on down, and the coach, and come down to the podium? While you're making your way down, I'll go ahead and read a statement here. The Ralston Valley girls tennis team turned a season of dominance into their first state title, the first time a Jeffco school has ever won a girls tennis team title, Class 5A championship, in the largest division of girls tennis. Their championship was earned with a hard-fought victory over Cherry Creek, yay, because they usually beat us in everything. My kids go to Ralston Valley, so it's tough. At the Denver Tennis Park on May 14th. Since the Colorado girls tennis team state championship began in 1975, Cherry Creek has won a team title in all but 10 seasons. Defeating Cherry Creek in the final has been a goal for this team for many years. Coach Kim, is it Greason? Greason? Close. Greason. All right, I got it right the first time. Has been head coach of the girls tennis team at Ralston Valley for 21 years. Thank you. That's great. And is also the head tennis professional at the Apex Tennis Center. Congratulations to Coach Greason and the entire 2024 girls tennis team and all involved with this championship winning program at Ralston Valley High School. And we have a certificate of recognition to the Ralston Valley girls tennis team signed by the mayor and all of City Council, which was presented the 15th day of July in 2024. So I'll come down and present it, take a couple pictures if you want, and I'm sure we'll see all your stuff displayed at the school.
Allie, go ahead.
Hello, City Council and community members. My name is Elena Roboff. This year, I had the honor of serving as one of the varsity senior captains on the Ralston Valley girls tennis team, alongside my friend, our #1 singles player, Allie Lowe. During the past spring season, our team made history by winning the state championship and defeating Cherry Creek, which had won the state title 39 times before. We were also the first girls 5A tennis team in Jefferson County to win state. In the off-season, our coaches had us read The Hard Hat, an inspiring true story by John Gordon. The book followed George Boyardi, his lacrosse team, and his legacy as a selfless, hardworking leader and teammate. We were motivated all season by what we learned in the book, the 21 lessons to be a great teammate and to always be more like George. It was a challenging season. It required our total commitment at every practice, regardless of the weather or disagreements. However, in the end, everything fell into place. This team was incredibly close-knit. We made lifelong memories. We supported each other and never let anyone give up. We overcame our underdog status and beat Creek against the odds, and we were proud to represent Ralston Valley, the city of Arvada, and the Jefferson County School District. We are grateful for the support received from our families, high school peers, administrators, and the Apex tennis community all season. Ultimately, our team has proven themselves as champions, with 3 lines also winning individual state titles, and our incredible head coach, Kim Greason, being awarded Colorado Girls Tennis 5A Coach of the Year by CHASA. Our team wouldn't be as solid and successful without her and our coaching staff. We thank you all for your time tonight and appreciate your recognition of our historical season. Thank you.
Congratulations. All right, now, our next item is a presentation on Sierra Elementary's second grade science project. Rachel Kiriiwa, Director of Communications and Engagement, will be the staff presenter of this item. I have to say that I am very excited about this because I'm a former science teacher, so I'm excited to see what you have to present.
Well, good evening. I'm Rachel Kiriiwa, Director of Communications and Engagement for the city, but tonight I'm here in a different role, parent of a Sierra Elementary School student. One of the science units the Sierra Elementary second graders participated in looked at erosion at Church's Ditch. The project really energized the students through creative problem solving and passion for protecting their community. And through my work with the city, my son Orion knows that City Council makes decisions about priorities for our community. And he was really passionate that you all hear the creative solutions he and his classmates developed. I want to thank the educators, parents, and students from Sierra Elementary who are here tonight. We have a really great school community. And with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Orion.
Hello, City Council. My name is Orion Kiriiwa, and I'm a student at Sierra Elementary. Today, I would like to share the second graders class project about preventing erosion. We learned about erosion that can happen in our waterways, such as Church Ditch, which is close to my school. I made a video that shows 3 ideas how we can protect our waterways from erosion. I hope you enjoy it and consider taking steps to help prevent erosion in Arvada. Thank you.
This is a prototype that could stop erosion from happening in a pond or a river.
How does your project prevent erosion?
So how it prevents erosion is when the water hits the foam, it will absorb the water, and if any splashes appear on this part, the net, well, the fabric that's in real life would be nets, would absorb it and not let it get onto the metal down here. It's just cardboard, but in real life we would put metal if we had some.
What changes might you make to improve your project?
So what changes we might make is we might make these two things metal and put some type of, like, same thing over there with like a net or something over it. So it will do the same thing as it is over there.
This is a prototype to stop erosion in a river bank. How does your project prevent erosion?
It prevents erosion by maybe the foam sort of sucking up the water.
What changes might you make to improve your project?
I would probably put wood for the pool noodles and actually real nails, and then the felt as net.
This is our model for stopping erosion in a riverbank.
The string will represent a net, then the cardboard will represent soil, and then the Lego plate will represent concrete.
So how this prevents erosion is the water goes through here, and the nets would hold up the soil. And if the soil doesn't work, then we have the concrete on the sides.
The changes we might make in the future are make the nets more close together and use actual materials.
Thank you.
Well, Thank you very much. Yes, and I think our staff have been taking a lot of notes over there. Is that right? Very good. So we hope maybe we'll have a future opportunity to have a conversation with the class about how that might be implemented. Does that sound good? Awesome. I see Jake nodding his head over there. So awesome. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. All right, next on the agenda is public comment for items not scheduled on the agenda for a public hearing, which is limited to 3 minutes per person. Public comment is your opportunity to address your city council. We always listen carefully to what you have to say, but we do not respond to comments during the meeting. We will refer any issues raised during public comment to our city team for further research and resolution if appropriate. And I ask that please, when you do make your public comment, to direct your comments to City Council. So first tonight, we have Rainer Gerbach, followed by Brian Glover. So we'll go ahead and start with them.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Temp and City Council. Brian Glover and Rainer Gerbach, both residents of Arvada, are here to present to City Council fire safety concerns at the 6,800 Kilmer development. Colorado experienced its most destructive wildfire in 2021, the Marshall Fire. 2 small fires fanned by a relentless wind resulted in a roaring wall of flame that arrived at the edge of 2 towns in less than 1 hour. The resultant suburban firestorm destroyed or damaged more than 1,100 homes, 30 commercial properties in less than 4 hours. The residential damage estimate $500 million. This fire finally brought the wildland urban interface, also known as WUI, and fire safety of suburban Denver front and center. A simple grass fire supported by high winds can propagate at an enormous speed and transform itself into a multi-hazard fire. Whereas the Denver suburbs were not considered WUI in the past, in 2025, most of Arvada, including Western Arvada, will be officially recategorized as WUI zone. The City of Arvada assesses fire safety for this development under the 2018 International Fire Code. This code is strictly structure-oriented and does not provide any guidance on the development for the exclusive storage of hundreds of RVs. The fire department has profound concerns, but is bound to uphold a code that is structure-oriented. Wildfire regulatory powers and duties reside with local jurisdictions. It is our understanding that Arvada will adopt the WUI code later this year, early next year. Available details, while sparse, point to another code that is structure-oriented and does not address nor assess the risks and consequences associated with the dense RV storage in the midst of established residential communities. Residents bordering the development need to understand how another wildfire fueled and propagated by a large series of explosions from hundreds of RVs loaded with propane and gasoline stored in their midst will impact their lives and property. First responders in the Marshall Fire had specific concerns about exterior fuel tanks exploding. Communities with a single entry point and exit forces firefighters to make a decision about when to cut and run for their own safety. Is there adequate water supply and pressure with a single hydrant located outside this development? What can hamper firefighting in such a development during a fast-moving wildfire amplified by high winds? What are the implications for preparedness, response, and mitigation with this massive fuel load? RV storage at the site is dense and will be difficult to navigate and allows only limited and slow vehicle movement. The site features a single road without turnaround provisions. The development is placed over essentially unmitigated landfill debris. Access road and parking are considered unstable and subject to substantial movement. What are the chances of the site devolving into a labyrinth of unstable and partly collapsed surfacing? Who is or will be the responsible entity to maintain this blighted site? The developer is an out-of-state corporation, shielded from liability. The only local interest is profit.
I'm sorry, your time is up. Can you wrap it up, please?
Okay.
Any fire in this warden would be difficult and dangerous for the fire department to control, even without high winds and the likelihood of unstable surfacing. The site experiences heavy prevailing winds from the west. Available evacuation routes are to the east. How could residents be successfully evacuated? Any roads within and leading out of the existing community suitable to act as evacuation routes and fire breaks. RVs, aside from carrying large quantities of fossil fuels, are full of flammable materials. It can take less than 30 seconds for the interior to go up in smoke and flames, known in the fire speak as a flashover. Mitigation is defined as activities intended to reduce the potential for unwanted impact. Wildlife mitigation strategies are evolving rapidly to just keep pace with the evolving climate crisis. Colorado has warmed by 2 degrees over the last 30 years. Wildfire seasons have and are increasing as the climate crisis deepens. Location design and proposed use of this development is diametrically opposed to evolving wildlife mitigation strategies. It increases risk and threatens to overwhelm local firefighting capacities. There are many questions and no answers as the development concept is unprecedented, bordering on haphazard considering all converging elements of associated risk. This scheme received CDPHE approval on the basis of a poorly established environmental status quo. The sparse approval criteria are ignorant of construction and operational impacts and consequences. The fundamental question then is, not if, but when the next wildfire visits, is the City of Arvada prepared to absorb the risk of this development and willing to accept responsibility for a death and property toll that will be very hard to predict? The city is responsible to mitigate wildfire capacity. Why then is the planning department considering a demonstrably illegal land use, a land use demanded by an out-of-state developer that increases future risk and jeopardizes safety for residents invested in Arvada? This character of this development is neither public improvement nor enhancement. It's frankly a blatant attempt to corrupt the LDC, and it makes a mockery of public welfare. This development cannot be facilitated via a process decided by non-elected staff. The exposure and risks inherent demands deliberation by council members elected by and with input from Arvada residents.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I have Eric Zietlow.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Eric Zietlow, 6137 Holman Street, and I'd also like to make a couple of comments about the 6800 Kilmer RV storage project. I live near the proposed site for nearly 30 years, frequent trail user that runs along the north side of the proposed site, and together with my wife, we do own the Colorado Tap House, which is also in view of this site. I know that there'll be a lot of comments made, and probably to the Planning Commission about the compatible use, so I'm just going to focus on a few aspects of the latest submittal that I saw. First, fencing. I know that the developer is requesting minor modification to increase the height of the fence, but they went from a steel fence to a vinyl fence, and I don't think that that's really meeting the intent, which is security to keep people out, durability under commercial use, and a high enough barrier to block the tall RVs from view from the residential neighborhoods and also from the trail users, while also blending in to the natural landscape. These vinyl fences, if you've seen them, almost every one that I've ever seen since it became popular was destroyed by hail, wind, especially since it's solid panel that they're proposing, or vandalism. So I just request that they work with the developer, should the project go forward, to find a taller, more suitable fence. Landscaping would be the other thing. If the project goes forward, the view, I think, could be enhanced as far as the screening by additional evergreens, so we can provide year-round screening as those trees mature from these tall RVs, both from the residential side and the trail users. And then third, trash removal. We know that this is on a former landfill site. If you look at their plan, they've added the trash enclosures on the northwest corner and the southeast corner, and it's a natural loop. And those heavy trash trucks that they were saying, hey, these aren't that heavy, is going to be going regularly through that project in a round circle. It's just natural. And I just would ask that they look at the construction of that outer loop and maybe have to find something that's more appropriate for that particular use. So with all the environmental and compatibility concerns by the community, I do request that you guys take a look at pulling that up and help participate in that decision based on community input. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, I have Karen Gerbach.
Hello again. My name is Karen Gerbach, and I live at 6872 Juniper Court. And I speak as a member of Friends of Ralston Creek Neighborhoods, which represents members of Geos, Forest Springs, Westwood Mesa, Westwoods Ranch, Maple Valley, and many other enthusiasts of the Ralston Creek Trail. I'm here to notify you that the developer is moving forward with building an RV storage facility for 355 vehicles. They put in their second submittal. The application letter labels the site as blighted and the land is unusable and not environmentally safe. The out-of-state LLC knew this when they bought the land in 2012 for $85,000 for back taxes. 100 feet away to the east is the Mile High Flood District and Arvada Joint Improvement Project on the Ralston Creek that I was told cost $1.5 million, with it being split 50-50 between Arvada and Mile High Flood District to pay for. Why spend taxpayer money on creek improvements and beautification of the area, but allow this illegal landfill caused by others, quoted from the developer application letter, to become one of the largest RV storage lots in Arvada, nestled in the wrong place between many stable neighborhoods, the Colorado Tap House, the Ralston Creek, and Trail. The land is not blighted for those that have lived next to it for many years. It is a natural landscape along the creek and trail that provides a space for wildlife. There are approximately 600 homes and businesses that are located within 1,000 feet of the property that will be impacted. The Arvada Land Development Code has 12 objectives, and I would like to highlight 3. 1, ensure that all development in the city is consistent with the spirit and intent of other plans and policies adopted by City Council. 2, protect the quality and character of stable residential neighborhoods. And 3, provide for the consistent, predictable, and equitable administration of city land use and development regulations. The developer's application letter includes phrases such as, quote, provides a service to the surrounding neighborhood, utilizes an otherwise unusable plot of land, is compatible with existing and planned service provision, will promote public welfare and be consistent with the goals and policies by providing public enhancements and improvements to a blighted site. I have never heard an RV storage called anything but a blighted site. If this project is approved administratively, we ask that City Council call it up for review of the Planning Department's decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Erica Tucker.
Good evening, City Council members. We've previously met, and as a reminder, my name is Erica Tucker. I have multiple undergraduate degrees in molecular biology, allied health, and in addition, I have a graduate degree and master in divinity and religious studies. I am a former interfaith hospice chaplain. I call this city my home, and I have also lived and traveled globally in much of my adult life, which I bring to my global perspective. I believe that empathy and compassion are skills, and we must do everything we can to humanize and have our policymakers and elected officials make decisions with the skills of empathy. With that said, I'm going to take a moment and talk about this weekend. Israel targeted multiple designated safe zones and refugee camps, including an UNRWA school, killing over 100 people, injuring 300 others with bombardments. Many of those who were sheltering in the UN school arrived after receiving evacuation orders from Israel at their previous locations. How many safe zones have to be targeted before we realize there is no safe zone? If you remember from our previous conversations, 40% of Gaza is under the age of 14. A reminder that this genocide is being funded by our tax dollars. I want to be clear that you don't need a graduate degree in religion to understand that this is not religious. It is genocide and has sadly happened before. There is no safe zone, and we are all complicit. Not one in this room will be able to say that we did not know. The Nakba in 1948 and today are part of the same event. To understand today, please look at history repeating itself. Palestinian liberation is tied to Jewish liberation. Jewish liberation is tied to Palestinian liberation. We are all tied together, and none of us are free until we are all free. None of us are free until we are free, and that is why I can no longer stand under that flag for freedom while our elected officials sign bombs to be dropped on a population of 40% children on our tax dollars, including over $1 million from this state alone. Cutting off water and electricity for 2.3 million innocent Palestinians, half of whom are children, is not the answer. Denying clean drinking water for an entire population is not the answer. Killing over 38,000 Palestinian civilians is not the answer. Orphaning 17,000 Palestinian children is not the answer. Maiming 80,000 Palestinians is not the answer. Displacing 2 million and closing the gates instead of opening them is not the answer. Erasing an entire generation claiming self-defense when we never question who deserves the right to self-defense is not the answer. Attacking safe zones is not the answer. Selective empathy is not the answer. Valuing one life over another is not the answer. Please do everything you can to humanize the Palestinian struggle for freedom from oppression and bring attention to the genocide paid by our tax dollars. Thank you, and see you all again soon.
Thank you. Next, I have Dan Bradley.
Dan Bradley at 8047 Field Court, Arvada. The purpose of my speech tonight is to address respect that I would like to see from the City Council to not just me, but for the community. A comment was made 2 weeks ago on the 8th of July that Ronald Reagan was the main reason we have homelessness. That could not be further from the truth. In 1972, the Latchman-Petrus-Scott Act was signed by Governor Reagan at the time. It was a bipartisan legislation that was that basically made it so the institutionalizing of mental health people would not be allowed by both their families or vindictive people or bad judges. And as a result, that was overturned by a Democratic bipartisan group that had made the bill, and he signed it to try to help people that were being basically imprisoned for their lives because some judge or somebody decided they were mentally ill. That was the bad policy. And in the 1990s, they basically closed all of those institutions. Jimmy Carter had a bill passed in 1980, Mental Health Systems Act, and that was overturned 10 months later in 1981 by the 96th Congress, which was the Democrats were both in charge of both the houses at that time, and Ronald Reagan agreed with the Democrats to allow the states to retain control of the mental health issues so that they could do their own, find their own funding and opportunities to help mental health institution people. So I'm just asking that everybody try to, when you're talking to each other and talking to the public, please don't say a political slander of some type or make some kind of a comment. unless you're prepared to document it at that time, because it's insulting to me, and I think most of the citizens, that you would make a statement like that and then just go on about your business as if, who cares? It's my truth, not yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. That concludes those that have signed up this evening for public comment. Is there anyone else in the council chambers that wishes to provide comment this evening? Yes, please come forward. If you would, please state your name and your address for the record.
Yeah, Vicki Arietti, 11627 West 74th Way in Arvada. And I attended last week and saw a beautiful presentation of, what's it called? A homeless center. And I've been homeless before with 5 kids. My twins were 13 months old. All because I wanted to take my husband back after he begged, and it didn't work out. So the biggest part of my concern with this facility, it's a great idea, but if you don't teach a man how to fish and you just give him a hand out, this homeless center is not going to work. It's going to be a cash drain on the community, the taxes. One of my granddaughters is a deputy sheriff in Denver County. She works at the jail. It's mandatory overtime because they're short-staffed. She has to punch in at work at 2 in the morning after she takes her 2 young children to the babysitter in the middle of the night. She doesn't get off until 4 in the afternoon. The next day, she works a 14-hour shift. She's exhausted. She's been there for 2 years. She's taken 2 pay cuts already to help pay for affordable housing. How fair is that? Socialism does not work. Robbing from Paul to pay Peter only breaks Peter. She told me, she says, I wish I had affordable housing. She pays over $2,000 a month. My idea for a successful, and I love the idea, is to have it be self-sufficient. Each person must take responsibility for their own homelessness, their own problems, and get themselves up by the bootstraps with mentoring, with group mentoring, with a safe place to live, while they contribute back to the facility. The contributions back, they have to go to work. They have to earn a living. And they need to pay a portion of a percentage back to the facility that's housing them. It helps them to have ownership. They must generate revenue for this center. It can't just be a cash bleed. It has to be a hand up. And that's what I received. I received mentorship. I grew up in a very abusive family. We weren't taught money management. We didn't have any money to manage. My dad struggled. And so I grew up poor. I grew up not knowing how to make a living for myself, except just to go to work at a menial job. So here I am, homeless with 5 kids, because my husband didn't want to take care of his responsibilities. And so abuse and neglect and trauma in childhood and in families is a generational problem.
Vicki, I'm sorry, your time has expired.
Okay.
Can you wrap it up?
Yes, I can wrap it up. I'm hoping that this facility goes in, but I'm hoping that it'll have the reputation of, if you're not planning on being self-sufficient, and if you're not planning on graduating from a program to better yourself and to save money in an environment where you can, so that you can graduate from this program and get out on your own, buy yourself a car, have some dignity and some self-respect, and heal from your traumas, and produce for yourself, and be an asset to the community, because just housing the poor and just it'll be a handout, and it'll be a cash bleed, and I don't think the community will be supporting of that, because The homeless need to take personal responsibility for themselves and not feel like they're victims.
Thank you.
It needs to be, and the center can help support itself this way. You know?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I hope you consider that.
All right, Ms. Rush, do we have anyone signed up for public comment on Zoom? Mike, can you hear us?
Yes, hi. How's it going, City Council members? Thank you for letting me speak on behalf of Friends of Ralston Creek Neighborhoods tonight. Just wanted to go over some more of the points that were brought up earlier. There is the need for a comprehensive plan amendment on this site at 6800 Kilmer, as we're all aware. The main question there is this the right thing to do to amend the comprehensive master plan to allow for this? This is an out-of-state developer, Florida by way of South Dakota. When we had spoken with a former planning member, we had found out that comprehensive master plans are very expensive, upwards of $500,000 for the city. A lot of thought goes into it. I'm working with Together Jeffco on behalf of Ralston Valley Coalition, multiple meetings, multiple hours of time spent thinking about our input, and then that gets put together with other people's input and then gets voted on later on. So a lot of consideration goes into a comprehensive plan. Is the amendment the right thing to do? And as Karen had mentioned earlier, they're asking for the amendment because this is a quote unquote like a blighted site. I don't know if that's the best way to characterize it. From out of state developer. But even if you do consider that, think about the outdoor storage and the setbacks. There's still the rule 5.1.6.3 in the Land Development Code says outdoor storage areas shall not be located within 300 feet of an RA or RN zoning district. And there are about 6 or 7 homes that reside within about 240 feet of this site. So there's that to contend with as well. And if that becomes a minor modification at planner discretion, I would imagine that Friends of Ralston Creek Neighborhoods and RVC would ask that the city council consider that for a call up. But once again, as stated earlier, this is a way to get a situation fully vetted, fully heard by city council. And additionally, there's another rub in the ointment here. They're talking about putting a 7-foot fence now instead of a 6-foot fence, but a quick search would show that Colorado statute limits an RV to 13.5 feet. So the fence would come up to just over 50% of a height of an RV. CruiseAmerica.com also talks about this 13-foot 6-inch height, and then they talk about auxiliary air conditioning and other units on top. So does the 6-foot to the 7-foot fence increase actually achieve anything? I would say no, because now you're looking at other RV storage, as Karen had mentioned, that are much higher fencing, 11 feet, 12 feet, that kind of thing. Then you have to contend with the wind. Motor vehicle storage 3.1.3.8 is also an interesting situation because it says that storage of vehicles would be behind the principal business.
Mike, your time is up. Can you wrap it up, please?
Sure. The use shall be located behind the principal building unless stored motor vehicles are for sale or rent. That's not the business model here. So what is the defined principal building besides just possibly the office building for the rental? Sorry, for the storage of the RVs. So it is interesting. Interesting to look at 3.1.8 and determine if there's a principal building at all that these things can be stored behind. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mike. And Ms. Rush, is there any more on Zoom? Okay. So that will conclude our public comment, our 3-minute public comment. We do have at the end of our business meeting this evening a 5-minute public comment if anyone would like to speak then. Next on our agenda is our consent agenda, and I believe Councilmember Merritt, you have a request.
I'd like us to take R 24-071 off the consent agenda and hear it separately.
Thank you, Councilmember Marriott. So we will be moving R 24-01 to our resolutions, and it'll be considered separately. So beginning with the item remaining on our consent agenda is R 24-070, a resolution authorizing an agreement by and between the City of Arvada and EZ Excavating, Inc. for the 2024 water main replacement project number 24-WA-01 in an amount not to exceed $4,662,989. Councilmember Ferre.
I move R 24-070 be approved.
Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, we will cast our votes. And Councilmember Ambrose, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay. And that then passes 6-0. All right, thank you. Now we will move on to our resolutions. So as I stated, we will first consider R 24-071, a resolution approving a contract to buy and sell real estate by and between the City of Arvada and ECHSA Building Corporation, owner of property located at 4905 West 60th Avenue, Arvada, Colorado, 8003. Do I have a motion or questions? Councilmember Ferre.
I move that R 24-071 be approved.
Is there any discussion? Councilmember Marriott.
So I'm just going to make a comment here. So this is an item to spend approximately $6.4 million for the purchase of a commercial building in eastern side of Arvada, ostensibly for the purposes of a homeless shelter or homeless navigation center or whatever terminology you'd like to use. And on one hand, not completely opposed to it. However, with the impending change in leadership of the city, it's going to take at least 6 months and probably a year before that is settled. I see this as an improper expense at this time. I don't see any way the city can act upon this in any fiscally responsible way. As far as once a purchase is completed, then there will need to be renovation and remodeling done, as well as operations. And we just heard last week a plan for homeless services in Arvada. There's nothing that would stop that plan from moving forward without this at this time. It's my belief that because of all these extenuating circumstances, particularly with the leadership of the city changing, that this would be not a good expenditure of the taxpayers' money at this time, and I'll certainly be voting no because of it.
Thank you, Councilmember Marriott. Councilmember Ferre.
Yes, thank you. In part of this purchase, we discussed some of the funding options to include some ARPA funding for it. In addition, we talked in our housing committee, as well as some of our housing planning and goal setting, we talked around land banking. So if we don't use this as a navigation center, we still have the opportunity to move forward with some of our goals in land banking. So that is one option that we can use this property for, and there's also additional funding for that. So for that, I will be supporting it.
Thank you, Councilmember Ferre. Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Yeah, I just want to say I'll be supporting tonight the request. I have confidence in the leadership. The city manager is the only change that will be happening, but I believe the deputies have done a great job putting together a strategy around this and have been very close to the subject. So I feel confident that continuity in this decision is solid with the leadership here at the city.
Thank you. And Councilmember Ambrose.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear that the plan that was presented to us it does rest on being able to purchase this particular property at this time, and that there's also a large amount of funding that is not city dollars, that is ARPA funding, federal funding, that we stand to lose if we do not make a purchase before the end of the year that we've already asked for an extension on. So I think the time is crucial, and that there will be a lot of consultation with people who live around the property, with continuing with the city of Arvada to see if a navigation center at this property is the right move for the property. Otherwise, that it is a good investment for land banking and to be able to use those federal funds in an appropriate manner before they expire. And then finally, I believe that I appreciate our city manager, Lori Gillis, for her leadership, and to not move ahead with this because she's leaving would be a detriment to our city manager, who has worked really hard to help resolve issues of, provide services for people who have high barriers of housing. And so I don't want to, as the city manager is leaving, saying, oh, this hard thing you've worked on during your leadership, we're going to cut off because you're leaving. I think we should be able to continue our city manager's legacy of all the wonderful things she's done for the city by continuing with the project and with her full faith and trust in the deputy city manager, who has also done a lot of work on this, Don Wick, who is still remaining and will be able to carry this through. So I think out of respect, out of the transition that we have to keep stability in government, and we should be able to continue forward with this. I don't think it is a rash, irrational spending of dollars. It is dollars that we would lose if we didn't turn and purchase this at this particular time. With the plans that have been in place and over 6 months worth of investigating of the city's time and energy for this plan to go through. And this is really important to me because this is all happening in the district that I represent. The homelessness in Holetown, that people have no place to go in the city of Arvada. They have no place to go in all of Jefferson County to be able to spend the night. And we have no services to offer people if they need help nearby at all in the county, in the city. We really need a place for people to be. And I want to respect, the neighbors who are going to be around this, to be able to give them plenty of time to input, to be able to talk about, is this the right move? Is this the right facility? Or does it need to be somewhere else? I feel like that question is still up in the air, and there might be a better place for this facility and a better use of this property. But currently, I think with what the plans are motion and the consultation that we're doing, that we definitely need more from the city, from people who live in the city, but making sure that this side of Arvada has the services that it needs to be able to address the frequent issues for people that have contacted me repeatedly, and lots of different residents who want the city to act. I will be supporting and voting as part of City Council, taking action for constituent concerns.
Thank you, Councilmember Ambrose. Councilmember Davis.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Look, we've kicked this can down the road for a while now, and I think that we owe it to our residents and taxpayers to start making bold movements forward. We dream big and deliver. That is our promise to our citizens, and I think this is one that is coming to fruition. I, too, want to keep Ms. Gillis's legacy alive by saying, look at all this work that you've done for us. You've gotten us positioned well. Let's move forward and see what we can do and how we can answer the concerns of all the residents of Arvada, housed and unhoused. So I think that this is the right move for us to move forward, and I will be voting yes tonight.
Thank you, Councilmember Davis. Councilmember, did you press again?
I just wanted to point out from what I've heard that at this time, this purchase price involves city taxpayers' funds, and that there may be some ability to use some other funds, but those will only be a piece of the purchase of this. These are your tax dollars buying this. And I also like to point out that this is an initial purchase price, that this is not a facility that's in any shape to function in any capacity that would be useful to the city as is, and will require another significant expenditure to be able to do anything with it. And thirdly, I'd like to point out that any plans for operating homeless centers and things like that in Arvada are just that at this point, just plans, just in the very beginning planning stage. And so, when I look at an expenditure of this size with little to no guarantee that there will be any other mix of money in it at this time, there isn't any. There could be, but there isn't now. As well as just the beginnings of a plan that hasn't even yet been approved by City Council that speaks to partnerships with as of yet unknown partners. As of yet unknown partners that whether they can perform or not perform. That the possibility exists very strongly that operations of this type will be footed by the taxpayers of the city or will not be able to be done, and this expenditure on this property and any type of renovations could be lost or largely lost. I'd also like to point out that we throw the term land banking around in a crazy fashion. If you were anticipating purchasing land to hold for a later purpose, this isn't what you'd buy. Wouldn't even be close. So I think it's possible to stretch and justify this, and each member obviously has their own vote. But I just want to be clear about why my vote at this time is no, and I still will be voting no.
Thank you, Mr. Marriott. I will add my opinion on this. I believe that this is the right decision at this time for the city. This is something that we have been planning as a community and a larger community, including all of Jefferson County, to talk about navigation centers to help address our homelessness challenges. Those challenges are only increasing, and the act of doing nothing is going to cost us significantly. So I believe this is an important investment for us to be making at this time. And I also believe that I trust our city leadership and the work that they have done to this point, and believe that they can continue that and making sure that we are implementing best practices and proven solutions. We do have a plan. We saw the presentation of that last week. That is only the beginnings of developing that plan, but I believe it will be continuing to be evolved and have our input and our say. And so I look forward to us continuing to that. And the first piece of that for us to make those appropriate steps forward is the purchase of this land so that we can move forward. So I will be voting yes. Any further discussion before we vote? All right, seeing none, please start voting. And Councilmember Ambrose, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All votes have cast, and that passes 5-1. Next on our agenda is Resolution 24-072. A resolution authorizing contract amendment number 3 to a state Colorado Behavioral Health Administration contract number 23, contract number 23 IBEH 174364 to providing grant funding to the city for the Arvada Police Department co-responder program. And Aaron Jacks, Senior Assistant City Attorney, will be presenting on this item.
Good evening, Mayor Tim, Pro Tem Mormon, and members of council. In May of 2022, council authorized a contract with the Colorado Behavioral Health Administration for grant funding for the Arvada Police Department's co-responder program. This amendment number 3 increases the budgeted grant funding that's available to the program from $345,000 to $347,000 for the state's 2024 to 2025 fiscal year, and it makes certain updates to exhibits to current documents in the contract. Commander Melanie Thornton is in attendance tonight to answer any questions that council may have about this grant or the co-responder program, and the city team is recommending approval.
Thank you, Senior Assistant Attorney Aaron Jacks. And at this point, we would offer an opportunity for any member of the public to make a comment about this resolution. Would anyone like to speak? And Ms. Rush, do we have anyone online? No? Okay, thank you. Any questions or discussion from council? Councilmember Ferre.
Yes, I can make the motion, but I also have a question. This is a $2,000 difference. I don't see, is there a reason why we need to come to council for a $2,000 difference?
Ms. Frey, because this is an intergovernmental agreement between the city and the state of Colorado, this is required to go before council for any modification.
Okay, and there was only $2,000 we could get?
That's my understanding, yes. Commander Thornton may be able to discuss that more at length, but my understanding is that was all the additional funding that was available from the state this year.
Good evening. The $345,000 is for the fiscal year that just closed. $347,000 is for the fiscal year that just started. So this carries us through June 30th of 2025.
Okay, thank you. I have no other question.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, you may proceed with the motion.
Thank you. I move that R24-072, a resolution authorizing contract amendment number 3 to the State of Colorado Colorado Behavioral Health Administration contract number 23 IBEH 17434. Oh my goodness, I should have worn my glasses, I'm sorry. IBEH 174364 to provide grant funding to the City of Arvada Police Department Co-Responder Program be approved.
All right, seeing no further discussion, please cast your votes. And Councilmember Ambrose, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. All votes are cast, and that passes 6-0. Next, we will consider R24-073, a resolution authorizing a Colorado State Patrol Academy 2024 agreement for use of the Colorado State Patrol Academy driving track. Again, Aaron Jack, Senior Assistant City Attorney, will be presenting on this item as well.
Good evening again, members of council, and Councilperson Ferre. I'll make a note to the state to improve their contract numbering conventions, because I can never say it either, so thanks for that. Members of council, this is as you know, the Arvada Police Department conducts annual driver training for all of its drivers, whether they're sworn officers or civilians. Some of this training during 2024, later this year, will take place at the Colorado State Patrol's Academy at their driving track in Golden up on North Table Mountain. The State Patrol requires a basic agreement in order for us to do this, and a small fee for each time we use the track. This is another intergovernmental agreement that is required to come to council per ordinance, since it's obviously with State Patrol as an instrument of the state and us as the City of Arvada. The city team is recommending approval so that the Arvada Police Department can use this track on occasion going into the fall of this year.
Thank you, Aaron. Again, I'll open it up to public comment if anyone would like to make a comment about this resolution. Seeing none and none online, all right, I will open it up to council for questions or a motion. Councilmember Ferre.
This doesn't have a long sequence of numbers, so I can make the motion. I move that R24-073, a resolution authorizing a Colorado State Patrol Academy 2024 agreement for the use of the Colorado State Patrol Academy driving track be approved.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. And Councilmember Ambrose, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. And that passes 6-0 as well, with Mayor Simpson excused. All right, we will now move to first reading of ordinances, and I call on Councilmember Davis.
Thank you. I move that CB 24-009, an ordinance repealing and reenacting Chapter 50, irrigation and drainage of the Arvada City Code, be approved on first reading, ordered, published in full, and set for public hearing on August 19th, 2024 at 6:15 p.m.
Thank you. Please cast your votes. And Councilmember Ambrose, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right, we have that passes 6-0 as well, with Mayor Simpson excused. All right, I'm going to now open the public hearing for the following items related to Texas Roadhouse. We'll start with A, Texas Roadhouse request for 2 major modifications from the Land Development Code, generally located at 5550 Wadsworth Boulevard, City of Arvada, Colorado, including 1, a major modification for Texas Roadhouse from the Land Development Code subsection 5-1-3-1B2 that requires buildings adjacent to a pedestrian priority street to have a minimum height of 25 feet and have at least 2 usable floors for the building generally located at 5550 Wadsworth Boulevard. And number 2, a major modification for Texas Roadhouse from the Land Development Code subsection 5-1-3-1B6 that requires transparent windows and/or doors on a minimum of 50% of the wall area between 2 and 10.5 feet above grade on facades facing a street for the building generally located at 5550 Wadsworth Boulevard. Rob Smetana, Manager of City Planning and Development, will be making the staff presentation.
Thank you. As you mentioned, the applicant is requesting these 2 major modifications from the Land Development Code for a Texas Roadhouse restaurant to be newly constructed at the northeast corner of Wadsworth Boulevard and 55th Avenue. The modification related to height, although the building is only 1 story when the code requires 2 floors, the proposed building roof line will be 22 feet in height. There are also tower elements that will reach up to approximately 29 feet in height. The applicant believes that the overall building height meets the intent of the code and that other commercial buildings in the vicinity are of a similar height and also a single story. The west side of the building does not meet the code requirement for window and door transparency, as you mentioned, covering 50% of the facade. Only 11.3% of the facade contains transparent windows and doors. However, the facade does include non-transparent spandrel windows, and a large outdoor patio has been provided adjacent to the street frontage to activate the street. During their May 21st meeting, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the major modification related to the building height. However, the Commission recommended denial of the modification for building transparency on the west side. Since that denial recommendation, the applicant has made revisions to the building that may provide additional mitigation for that modification. Those changes include a decorative brick feature on the Wadsworth side, facing side, of the trash enclosure, the addition of a roof over the trash enclosure, and revisions to the landscaping along the west side of the building. We have received the signed posting log and mailing affidavit, and they are in order. The applicant's representative is here for a presentation and questions, and I am also available for any questions you might have.
Thank you. The notice and posting log are accepted as part of the record. All right, anyone who wishes to testify on this matter, please raise your right hand now. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will be giving in these proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay. All right, we will now proceed with the applicant making their presentation.
Good evening. My name's Marissa Coleman. I'm with Greenberg Farrow. I'm the development manager on behalf representing Texas Roadhouse. A little background before I get into the major modification requests. You go to the next slide. Or wait, can I do it from here? Is this, yeah? Okay. I couldn't at the last meeting. So, as you know, the existing location is at the northwest corner of Vance and 55th Avenue. This location was built around 2001. It's approximately 7,200 square feet. After 20 years, leases near their termination dates, this is one of them that is expiring in September of 2025. Back in about mid-year 2022, Texas Roadhouse and Harkins Theater worked together to negotiate a lease agreement to create an outparcel at the northeast corner of Old Wadsworth at 55th Avenue for a new and improved Texas Roadhouse. The current new locations that Texas Roadhouse construct are about 2,000 square feet larger than the old ones. They can accommodate 50 to 90 more dining seats, depending on if there's an outdoor patio, which the existing location does not have and the new location would. They've also have improved their internal layout and operations for kitchen and service and ways to turn over seats and be a more successful operation. So the two modifications we're requesting, as Rob mentioned, first we'll go into the usable floors. 2 usable floors are required per code. Where Texas Roadhouse is 1 usable floor, but the building height is, and the visuals appear as if it's 2. So this image is a snap from the colored elevation to show the different roof lines and architecture that gives you that impression of a 2-story building. So to the roof line, it's a almost 16-foot building. To the top of the parapet walls that screen the rooftop units, that's 22.5, and to top of tower, almost 29. The flagpole branding element brings it to 40 feet. So our justification for this request is, again, that we comply the minimum building height overall, the visual aesthetic of a 2-story building, and that there's a plethora of surrounding users that have 1 usable floor with similar appearances with a similar total height. Just to pass through a few, the theater itself, Kokoro Restaurant, this multi-tenant center where Starbucks and Namaste are located, the T-Mobile FedEx, Ruby Tuesday and Advanced Auto Parts. So touching on, I understand that the intent of this requirement is for future redevelopment to promote that mixed use, 2-story, multi-level. The purpose of me providing these images is just to show that what we're requesting is not uncomparable to our adjacent users. The second modification for reduced transparency, we have to comply with the 50% along the elevations facing public streets. So the south elevation faces 55th Street, provides 40% transparency. The west elevation facing Old Wadsworth is 11.31%, but including the faux windows, spandrel glass, we can achieve 25.31%. This is the elevation of the west along Old Wadsworth. We've worked with staff over the last almost 2 years to try to offset this reduction. As we know, it's a rather large request for this elevation specifically. There was not going to be an outdoor dining patio at this location, and Texas Roadhouse will be providing one. Additionally, since, as mentioned, the Plan Commission meeting, we've added a screening element that'll be similar, match the awning elements of the building over the dumpster to help further screen that view. We've also added more decorative brick feature along the dumpster wall facing Wadsworth. And this elevation doesn't really give a perspective of what landscaping will be here, considering this will be part of the urban park area. So this rendering is on Old Wadsworth, looking into the outdoor dining patio. We've also extended that the roof line further to meet to the edge of the building to where the dumpster corridor goes with the various landscape plantings and outdoor amenity benches. The south elevation facing 55th Avenue, this is providing the 40% transparency. These windows, along with the windows that we can make transparent on the west, have been enlarged to accommodate more transparency. The Texas Roadhouse prototype, there's elevations that there's 0 transparency to 8%. So this building has been increased with the transparent windows. This is a view of from 55th Avenue looking at the front elevation. So part of our justification for this request is the code requires the transparency to be taken between 2 to 10.5 feet in a vertical space on the elevation. The way that the metal roof awning meets the top of the wall itself, since the awning is angled, it only allows us to achieve transparency to 9 feet. So we can take it between 4 to 9 feet. The internal back of house operations and the interior layout conflict with the transparent window views, meaning that the north half of this building footprint is back of house, so it's kitchen, mechanical, dry storage, cooler, restrooms, and spaces that, while maybe we could fit transparent window views, no one wants to look into the restroom. There is one faux window that's presented on the west, and that's to secure a 10-foot width interior space for a decorative art mural. As Texas Roadhouse has their exterior branding that's very key for their customers, they have an interior branding as well that they like to maintain. There's a lot of art mural and different lighting, et cetera, on the inside. The more we increase the transparent windows, all of that goes away on the inside. The final justification is booths adjacent to the walls are raised up. There's a step up 10 inches, so above the finished floor. So this creates an issue with increasing the window down to the 2 feet. As mentioned, we have from 4 to 10, or 4 to 9, but we've widened them where we can. But that view, the view of a window doesn't line up perfectly with the view of a booth. The booths are attached by the back, and the windows are widened so that it's not a clear-cut, clean view into window booth. And as you extend it south, the view goes under the table. So this is a footprint highlighting the north part of the back of house operations, as mentioned. So if you squint, you can see that I've called out, those are faux windows that are provided along the west because those look into restroom, mechanical, and storage areas. And this is the south end of the half of the footprint. So all of these windows are transparent, as mentioned, except for the one called out in the west for the specific art mural that they'd like to maintain for interior branding. Other upgrades that we've worked with staff over since 2022 for this site, as mentioned, adding the faux windows to increase overall glazing to 30%. Maintaining the building in proximity to the public right-of-way is required by code. The urban park features along both south and west elevations. The outdoor dining area usable for 3 seasons, including ceiling-mounted heaters. The decorative brick feature to the blank dumpster wall, along with the complementary winter landscape, and the roof over the dumpster with added screening to that area. And again, as mentioned, some of these upgrades or came from recommendations and comments from the May 21st Plan Commission meeting to help offset this concern. This is an image of the current landscape plan. You can make out the highlights in green are all the winter landscape that would be visible throughout all seasons of the year, as well as the park along the west there. And this is an additional rendering that includes that dumpster area. That was a concern of the Plan Commission meeting from the view of further up Wadsworth. in summary, we respectfully request approval of the two modifications. We understand that while we fall short with 100% compliance of the pedestrian priority zone, Texas Roadhouse is a good neighbor. They want to be here in the community, otherwise they wouldn't look to relocate just next door. They have a successful operation and they want to continue to be successful and improve their own operations. Ultimately, generating more revenue for them is more tax revenue for the city. So this would be a great improvement to the corner as it exists as a current really unusable parking lot to the theater. I'm here for any questions, but I'm sure I forgot something, but thank you.
Thank you. We'll have time for questions after we take public comment.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to open the public comment portion of the hearing. And so we do have some members of the public signed up. And I will begin with Alex Prey. And again, Alex, you have 3 minutes. Yes, please state your address.
Sure. Alex Prey, 6330 Reed Street. City Council, Mayor Pro Tem, I'm standing before you tonight to voice my opposition to the proposed major modifications to this project. The intent of these requirements in the Land Development Code is to create a more pedestrian-friendly street, and the applicant's request for major modification lacks sufficient justification, in my opinion. First, I'm a supporter of the Land Development Code's pedestrian priority designation for this area in Newtown, supporter of the forward-thinking Newtown area plan, as well as the city's stances on development, including the recently adopted strategic plan. These documents were adopted to guide our city's growth, and it would be a shame to abandon their intent with one of the first developments since their adoption. Creating pedestrian-friendly areas necessitates providing density to reduce walking distance between destinations. This is why requirements like this have a minimum of 2 usable floors, and why those requirements are essential. The Land Development Code did not designate this area as pedestrian priority until an update into 2022, as far as I can tell. So this is prior to the development in the surrounding area, and I don't believe those are appropriate to use for comparison. In pedestrian priority zones, transparent glass is crucial for providing passive surveillance or eyes on the street to create a sense of safety. For instance, consider the difference between walking past the security or the CenturyLink building in Old Town versus the stores to the west. Windows do make a difference. This project would need 4.5 times more transparent windows on the west side to meet the Land Development Code requirement. While I commend the applicant for including a covered patio on the west side, it would not be an efficient or an effective substitute unless open year-round, and the faux spandrel glass windows in the kitchen and surrounding areas would not provide the passive surveillance that transparent windows would. I do respectfully disagree with the major modification approval criteria responses in your packet tonight. One, I believe the modification would be less hospitable for pedestrians, not to mention having the entrance face the east parking lot clearly isn't prioritizing pedestrians. Number two, using a standard Texas Roadhouse design with a faux second floor is not a creative solution to the height or density requirements. Requiring spandrel glass for windows for an interior mural is not a compromise, and in fact, the east elevation has a higher percent of transparent glass than the west. Flipping this entire building around would increase the windows on the west side as well as put the entrance on the street. Future compatibility must be considered. Imagine if Old Wadsworth were aligned with developments with similar modifications, it would not create a pedestrian-friendly street. 4, the safety promoted by visual transparency will be absent. 5, since the Planning Committee's review, the applicant has added some decorative brick and a covering to the trash enclosure, neither of which mitigate the impacts of the modification. Finally, I would like to point to the recently approved strategic plan, priority area CED2. The priority area emphasizes maintaining the city's standard for vision, sustainability, and safety in development review process. Approving a project today that does not align with the vision laid out in the sub-area plan Replacing a restaurant that is less than 25 years old with a near identical structure is not sustainable.
I'm sorry, your time is up. Can you wrap it up quick?
Yeah, one more sentence. And the modification would make the street environment less safe than one that complies with the Land Development Code. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alex. Next, I have Ted Harburg. Please come up and state your name and address.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Ted Harburg. I live at 5475 Water Tower Promenade, which is a townhouse 1 block to the west of this proposed project. I'm also an AICP certified planner. I know that many of you have already heard from me regarding this project over the past few months and about my discontent with the lack of public notice and the lack of neighborhood engagement that went into this review. While I stand by all my previous written comments, I am here tonight to ask that you side with the Planning Commission and deny the major modifications before you on their merits. The design modifications made by the applicant between May and tonight are insignificant and do not even begin to address the many substantive design and process failures. This is still a building that turns its back to our town's primary main street and presents asphalt loading docks to the Old Town Hub parking garage, where the back of the building will be the very first thing visible to visitors walking down the hill. Let me just say that I am very proud to live in Old Town and of the years of work that have been put in by City Council, the Arvada Urban Renewal Authority, who built my home, and the Old Town Business District. This legacy has left me with high expectations for my neighborhood. The vision for Newtown is a vision that was sold by this council and by previous councils before it. This is a vision that I bought into, and it is a vision I still believe in. I sincerely hope you all do too. Old Town's renewed vibrancy, fueled by the ability for people to arrive by train, and the frequent events and festivals have made our neighborhood a genuine destination. The progress we have made is too special for us to settle for this kind of out-of-character building that turns its back to us. The intention of declaring pedestrian priority streets in the code seems very clear: to promote the continuation of the charming main street that exists north of the railroad tracks, where shops and restaurants line the sidewalk and invite pedestrians to step inside. And this is not merely a subjective preference. Tax records from the assessor show that urban-style buildings like the ones on the 7500 block of Grandview bring in significantly more property tax revenue than parking lot-oriented buildings. In fact, in 2024, the existing Texas Roadhouse property brought in only $55 per square foot in property tax revenue, while the property that is home to Lady Nomada brought in $76 per square foot. This is a direct reflection of the value of good urban design. Finally, I would just like to restate my disappointment in the lack of outreach and engagement conducted during this planning process. I am very concerned that the notice for this project, proposed less than 1,000 feet from my home, was reduced to only notify those living within 500 feet of the property, both for the initial neighborhood meeting and for this public hearing. While this decision may be allowed by statute, it represents a clear case of disenfranchisement that should not be tolerated. It is important to remember that this council made campaign promises to be more open and transparent in their operations. Ensuring all affected residents are adequately informed and involved in the decision-making process is crucial for maintaining public trust. If council were to reward a process like this with several major modifications to the city's land development code, when you have at least 2 residents expressing clear discontent, this would send the message that council is not upholding its promises for transparency. Instead, let's go back to the drawing board and plan this project in a way that acknowledges the neighbors' desires for their own neighborhood. They're at least as important as Harkins. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. That is all I have signed up this evening. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to speak on this matter? All right, Ms. Rush, do we have anyone online? No? Okay. I will close the public comment portion of the hearing, and I will open up to City Council for questions and for a motion. Councilmember Pfeiffer.
So do we have anything that shows the north elevation? Do you have that? Because you didn't show that in your presentation. You just showed the south, the west.
Is that
I mean,
in a
I can look at the
staff
planning.
report?
You mean in the planning? I think the planning document has it. If I go to what was
Yes,
presented to
yeah,
the planning.
apologies, it was not in the presentation.
It would be, if you've got your electronic version, it's page 367 of the packet.
The packets are broken up online when you do it.
I'm sorry?
The packets are broken up by the subject, so they're not like, I'm looking at exterior elevations reviewed by the Planning Commission. I'm assuming that's good enough.
Yeah, they're going to be the same.
It's just kind of hard to tell. I mean, the point that one of our community members mentioned is what it would look like coming down the hill. Are we looking straight into trash cans for the pedestrians are coming down from Old Town?
No, the dumpster enclosure is screened with the same building materials as the building. So as you saw on the south, it was extended, the brick and
on the west,
the
it was
cedar.
extended
Yeah, sorry, the west. That wraps around to block or enclose the dumpsters entirely. And then the roof is to match the metal awning to screen it from above.
Will there be doors that also hide it in from, if I was
Yes,
looking
the
from the movie
front's
theater?
a fully enclosed black metal gate that screens it from, that's how it's accessed.
Because that's how it works today?
Yes.
In the current one?
The existing location?
Yeah.
I don't
looks
know
like
what they
there's-
have. If that's the current enclosure. What is there today may be outdated. Depends on the,
But it's enclosed?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
so the new proposal will be enclosed. And then you made a parking, or it looks like probably for the trash truck to come in and out right there.
Yes.
Trying to think of which page that was. Can you go back to that? I think somebody got it there.
Sorry, we're both touching it. Sorry.
You got it. There, right there.
Okay.
The island that's there, I'm assuming that's an island with a bunch of little dots?
So that's a requirement for stormwater management. It's a BMP area. There'll also be a small screening, fencing wall almost within that area to further block or screen the dumpster from the north.
Oh, maybe I'm just not familiar, but usually your water retention, so that's in the ground?
Yeah, it would look just like an island with.
That's made for pond
Right.
or whatever. And then to the east or to the right of this to this picture with the checkered board, that will somewhat
Those
hide.
that's a full row of evergreen shrubs.
Okay.
So that would block from, if you were a customer parking and pulling in, that you're not, there's some additional screening for those customers versus looking into the dumpster gates.
And there'll be no parking back there?
No, that area is just for truck circulation.
Okay. And then just to kind of align myself with your patio and what you're suggesting, there's already an existing sidewalk there. I'm assuming that sidewalk is staying, and then there's some treescape center and then a wider sidewalk again. Am I translating that correctly?
Correct. We're not going to modify any part of the public sidewalk outside of our property line or the right-of-way. But then on the inside where the plantings are, that's the urban park, so there's a different concrete scape walk in that to meet that requirement.
Just so I'm clear, will the sidewalk be detached from the road like it is today? Do you know?
Yes, in the right, correct, because that's public right-of-way.
So it will be detached and it'll be treescaped?
Yes, and then another area of public urban park scape.
Okay, and then by doing the outdoor patio, how many seats did you gain by doing that?
It's about 40.
Just 40, you said? Okay. And let me ask you just another question. Is it typical that a restaurant has a two-story?
Oh, Texas Roadhouse?
Well, not
or
Texas
any
Roadhouse,
restaurant.
just restaurants in general, like this type of style
No.
of eating. Okay. I think that's all the questions I have for now, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Davis.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. As I'm looking at the rear elevation, it's very warehousey. So as you are walking down, it doesn't look very inviting and not keeping in with the Newtown vision that council approved last year, about this time last year. And so if there is a way to make that somehow more attractive in some way, and I don't know, this is just a rendering, so maybe there are other plans that you could have, maybe some public art or something. And then also, I am curious, that was one of my notes that I made earlier when I was reviewing this, is why was the radius for outreach and education reduced 50%? Instead of 1,000 feet, we went to 500 feet. So I'm just wondering why that was done, because it seems 500 feet leaves out a lot of residents, and residents not only in townhomes, but actual homes, freestanding homes, single-family homes, to get their opinion. I mean, Ms. Garner? Yes.
The previous planning director had made that decision, and we have the discretion within the Land Development Code to make that. That was not my decision, but we stayed consistent with the previous direction and allowed the project to move forward with the spacing.
That's a bit disappointing because that does limit who we performed outreach and education to. So just to get to a larger audience. Yeah, I dislike the rear view, and I just think it's odd and awkward and clunky. And I see where you have the dumpsters, and I understand that they're covered for stormwater control and stormwater protection. But if I'm walking down and I'm walking down the sidewalk and I smell dumpsters, it doesn't say "Eat at Texas Roadhouse." So I'm just a little concerned about that.
Other questions? Councilmember Foray.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of Councilmember Davis, the 1,000-foot to 500-foot reduction, we had just approved expanding it out to 1,000, and to hear that it's 500, I think that really limited to some of our testimony's points. So that's unfortunate to hear. So I'd be curious to have a little more discussion about how it's discretionary and how it's decided, just so we know and can relay that to our community. For Planning Commission had mentioned that the entrance was not on the front facade in their meeting. So I'm wondering if that has been mitigated at all. We talked about the code saying that the entrance has to be on the front facade, and Planning had mentioned it's not. So I'm wondering what we did to mitigate that.
The front entrance complies with the code. It's on the east elevation, and it's within the 50-foot distance to the public right-of-way, which is the code requirement, I believe. And if you see where the front entrance is, it's a side-loading door. So there is, although it is not an immediate entrance from the public sidewalk, it does comply. We've also added a path along the north to kind of route yourself, if you were coming along off Old Wadsworth, to route yourself along down through to the front entrance.
Okay. The other question I had, some of your justification around the transparency was that you added brick and you added a roof. And it doesn't seem to match. If we're talking about transparency, those are two non-transparent materials.
Sure. So we've widened the window. So the typical Roadhouse prototype, which is what is built next door, has pretty much 0 to 8% transparency across the building, depending on what elevation you are. So for the south elevation, the windows were enlarged to achieve the 40%. As mentioned, we have a hardship with the way the building is constructed itself, that the exterior wall goes to 9 feet where the metal awning connects to it. So
Right.
The way the calculation is done with the percentage between 2 to 10.5 feet, our wall ends at 9 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have a hardship with expanding the windows vertically up. Also, as mentioned, expanding them down, while we can do it, yes, it's whether or not you want to view under the tables to people's feet and whatnot. But in addition to widening the windows, we've added the faux windows across the building. We've added more transparency along the east that's not normally there, although that's not required to be increased.
Yeah, it just sounds like what I'm hearing is branding and prototype and furniture trumps the code that we're trying to enforce, and it seems that it also is trumping the vision of what our community has said. So while I respect the brand and the prototype of what you're trying to get to, it seems a bit challenging for us when we have a community and a vision and a design of that neighborhood to be a certain way, and the justification is that of prototypes and branding. So I think that's challenging to understand how we can navigate that to work with you.
Certainly, and I guess to reemphasize my point that we've gone above and beyond than what their prototype and brand is what we're presenting. And you can see that if you compare to what the current location is as it stands today. But yes, to answer your question, can we eliminate another interior art mural? Yes, it can. It could be done to bump up that percentage. That gets us maybe 5% or more. It's not getting that golden number, but yeah, we could chip away at it with that. But specifically on the west, unless you want transparent windows into back of house operations, we won't be able to achieve 40%, even if we take those windows down to the floor and across. It's just it's a dining operation conflict that comes into play. But we could put a transparent window in the restroom if that's what's going to get us there. But we're trying to avoid that, but still show that we've made some tweaks to what they copy and paste, in other locations. That this location is going above and beyond, but maybe doesn't come across that way on the paper exactly.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Any other questions? Councilmember Ambrose?
No questions from me.
Okay. Councilmember Marriott?
I have a question for you about the parking. Is all the parking for the restaurant contained on the site, or do you have a parking agreement with the Harkins Theater for leased parking?
There'll be shared cross parking.
Shared
Yes.
cross parking. And so approximately how much of your required parking is on site, and about how much is anticipated to be shared?
We pretty much meet code as it stands. We maybe have 5 or 6 additional stalls right now that will go away because the chunk at the northwest corner there that's hatched, that's going to be dedicated for future right-of-way for roundabout at some point. So we've taken into consideration that corner of the site will be modified to accommodate the roundabout.
Okay.
But we'll still meet parking on our own site per code.
How many spots do you have on your site? Do you know?
40. I think we're at like 51, and then we'll go down to 46.
Okay. And our code with 9,200 square feet or whatever it is, that complies all by itself.
Yes.
But my experience has been, in being a very frequent customer of Texas Road, the existing Texas Roadhouse is, thank goodness there's parking to flow into.
Yes.
Because it's
so they
busy all the
won't do
time.
a deal unless they have enough cross parking rights with their whether it's the landlord or adjacent owners.
And do you know, is that agreement such that if the ownership of the Harkins parcel were to change, that the cross parking easement is enforceable and continues regardless of the ownership of that parcel?
The ownership. It's memorialized in their lease agreement.
Okay.
The legal language of that.
Ground lease agreement?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Okay.
I do have some questions then. I guess I'll start with staff. help me understand, I'll start with the two-story requirement. Is it my understanding correct that that is a new requirement in our land development code? We saw from the applicant pictures of nearby businesses that don't meet that requirement. Can you walk me through that a little bit?
Sure. The two-story requirement was put in place with the 2020 code update for specific areas along pedestrian priority streets, mainly in this portion of town.
Okay. And then that's the same for the second modification request with the transparency, is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, as part of the code in this particular area, we did increase the transparency requirement in the 2020 version.
Okay. And since the code change in 2020, have we had any, I can't recall, so I think the answer is no, but have we had any other projects that along this corridor that have been constructed since 2020 code change?
Not in the immediate vicinity. We did have In and Out farther south at 52nd that was approved. It had some similarities, but didn't have to meet all of these particular requirements. But we did, the council did approve several major modifications for that particular structure.
And that's correct. But as you just stated, I believe, is that the code requirements are a bit different because this is on a major pedestrian passage, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then, so maybe I'll stick with the transparency piece because that's a question for the applicant, I think. So you've talked a lot about the layout of the building and having the back of service area, I believe is what you used, but correct me on my terminology, being on the west side of the building, and that's why the transparency requirement is hard to meet. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, correct. So this is the north half of the building, which is all the back of house. So the west half of left side of this footprint that's highlighted in yellow is that's the west elevation where it's all, again, not dining area.
Would it be possible to flip so that you have the service area on the east side where the parking is and be able to have that complete transparency of seating on the west side of the building?
We've looked at multiple footprint layouts for this site. We did look at having the front entrance on the west elevation as well as the south. A big concern, two big concerns with that is the dumpster itself and the way that the dumpster is viewed. One requirement by Harkins is that that it is not visible to the north where the gates are and that there's additional screening. So configuring the way that the dumpster corridor is with this does make it prohibitive and to try to get truck circulation to get to the dumpster. So it still takes a chunk out of the east half of the site with truck circulation to the dumpster as well as screening. The other piece was that there was concern about the ADA accessible path for people parking. So that would have to remain at the east, but then travel to the west side of the building from the ADA stalls.
Okay, thank you. I have another question, I guess, for staff. So I'm very unclear on this urban park area concept. Can you walk me through that a little bit?
Yes, so this was another addition in the 2020 code. Basically, it was to provide privately owned space that would be available to the public with restrictions. They can limit hours as long as they're reasonable hours. But the intent was to try and provide these spaces in areas where we don't have a lot of park facilities. So this kind of satisfies a little bit of park requirements or open space requirements with some active elements, but have those be privately owned and maintained.
So what is being proposed here for that then? Can you give me some more detail, please?
So in this particular instance, it's a pedestrian plaza with some seating areas. It's a wider area with decorative brick and decorative pavement, as well as those seating areas and more an enhanced landscape area. It's very similar to kind of what we have with the apartments, the Old Town Residences, as you come down Vance and then you kind of run into the Residence Inn. It's got a little plaza there at the corner too. So that met the requirements of the small urban park. To give you an example of what exists in that type of situation.
And there would be shade then as part of this park?
There would be the trees.
And then the roof line over the patio is extended further down, so there's a covered shaded area.
As part of the
For
park?
seating, yes.
Okay. All right, I think that's into my questions. Okay. Any other discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem Norman, I did have a question.
Go ahead, Councilmember Ambrose.
Yes, I just wanted to make clear, because I'm newer in council, and I'm reading through the documents, it looked like our planning commission approved the first major modification, but denied the second, the one with having a number of windows being available. And I just wanted to ask what the process is. If the planning commission said, no, this major modification, we will not approve it, but is the presentation that we received from the applicant tonight a change since that denial to better meet the planning commission? Or is it the same thing that's being presented to the planning commission is now being presented to council?
Councilmember Ambrose, I can answer that. As the applicant presented, there were a number of changes that were made for the transparency modification that was recommended for denial by the Planning Commission. An applicant does not have to make changes and go back to the Planning Commission under our code. They have the ability to continue through the process. That's why we always provide as much information as we can of what the Planning Commission recommended and what their basis was, and that's why we provide the minutes of that meeting. In this situation, the applicant made the changes working with staff to try to address the specific concerns that were voiced during the Planning Commission meeting, and that's why you're seeing it here tonight. I believe there was a full slide of the changes that were made that the applicant showed tonight, if they want to go back to that slide.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear that those changes were made after the Planning Commission denied the
correct
major amendment. Okay.
Correct. Those were changes based on the feedback that they got from the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
I did have a question now, additional one, and I guess maybe I'll start with staff. So the restrictions that the applicant presented about the awning and having, again, what I'm understanding is enough window space with the awning to meet the requirements. Is that possibly mitigated by adjusting the height of the building and having a taller building so that the awning doesn't come down so low that you could have higher windows?
That's certainly a possibility. They could raise the height of the floor. I don't know what that means structurally for their design, but I mean, that's an option that could be looked at.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Councilmember Pfeiffer.
If there are not any questions, I'll make a motion when you're ready.
Yes, go ahead.
All right, we'll start with the first one. I move that a major modification for the Land Development Code, subsection 5-1-3-1B as in boy 2, that requires a building adjacent to the pedestrian priority street to have a minimum height of 25 feet and have at least 2 usable floors for the building generally located at 5550 Wadsworth Boulevard in the city of Arvada, Colorado, be approved. This motion is based on the finding of fact adopted by the Planning Commission.
Do we have any comment before we vote from council?
I have a comment.
Go ahead, please.
I'll be supporting this. There's many factors. I've been around a while and understand the whole how we got here and why the zoning and the proposed priority street was designed, I had a toy store across the street from there, and I think that this proposed development would activate the road that was usually desolate with pedestrians for a long time on that corner. So the intent of the two-story usable from 2020, and my recollection when we were going through that process, was really looking at the development of Newtown as a whole. This whole property at one point was looking at actually being subdivided into 2, 3, 4-story apartments through that whole parking lot, and it was going to be like a downtown. That was the contemplation for at the time, but that has not come to fruition. So, Texas Roadhouse, my recollection is this has been going on for a while. I think this discussion with Harkins has been going on even during the pandemic, if I recall correctly. And so, this negotiation to get them a bigger spot is not just done overnight. It's been going for a while. The other thing is they have been a good neighbor, and I think they're trying everything they can do to work within their brand. We should respect their brand, and their patrons are a lot of our residents. So that facility is used. I think we all go there. Even somebody like me who lives in Candelas drives a long freaking way to get there for my kids. But we do go there, and we do see it's an important partner inside our community. So I think what they've tried to do to activate it in outdoor seating, I think it's a great idea to activate the pedestrian area a little bit more. And I believe I'll be supporting both their modifications and support tonight anyway. So,
Thank you, Councilmember Pfeiffer. Councilmember Marriott.
I want to make a comment too. I'll start off by earlier I had mentioned I'm a frequent customer there. I think we maybe all are. Obviously, you have nothing to gain from this, but just want to make sure people know that I have patronized that spot. I will agree with some of the points Mr. Pfeiffer made. I think the contemplation of these Newtown zoning standards was as we looked at full redevelopment in that area. And as we passed those things, we were trying to look forward 50 years. And, who knows what 50 years brings us, whether the Lowe's site, the Home Depot site, or any of the other sites down there still exist in their current configuration in 50 years is unknown. And the thought was, well, if they were to substantially redevelop, what would we like to see them redevelop in? In other words, a redevelopment of a large scale, not just a parcel by parcel redevelopment. I do understand the interest in people in creating kind of these face to the sidewalk, two-story type development. I certainly understand that. And I think this particular project kind of sets in path a reasonable compromise. If you picture the existing Texas Roadhouse restaurant, you can drive your car all the way around the perimeter between the building and the sidewalk. In this new one, you won't be able to. You're, two sides you can drive around and two sides you can't. So it is moving to the street, and it is moving towards what we are looking for, or moving towards that aspirational goal in that in that particular plan. But beyond that, I will say that this, they are working within the constraints of, what works for them as a business. What works for them within branding. I think they have made really good efforts to meet as much of this as possible. And at some point, if you take codes like these kind of aspirational codes, and enforce them completely strictly, where you don't allow major modifications, at some point you get vacant spots. I don't believe that that's in the best interests of the city or the residents of the city, or in the Texas Roadhouse, or in Harkins, who I'm sure would like to execute this ground lease. And so I believe on the question of the two-story major modification, I believe that they have substantially complied. Yeah, I get it. They don't have an inside second floor up there, but I'll tell you can thank ADA accessibility requirements, as well as building codes and any number of things that makes that essentially impossible in today's world. If we could go back to 1925, we could build all kinds of two-story buildings very easily, but we can't do that in our modern world. And so I think their attempt at making a two-story building from the outside that functions for them is again another reasonable compromise and warrants this particular major modification. So I will be voting yes as well.
Councilmember Ferre.
Thank you. I'll make it brief. The purpose of this code is for density, not for aesthetics. And the purpose of our subplan is of that of a future vision. We had a stakeholder committee, we had a technical committee, we had a community meetings, and all of them had explained they wanted density. That was part of the vision, that was part of the plan in what we talked about. Having a facade of 2 stories doesn't comply with what the community wants or what we have envisioned of that area. And for that, I don't think it meets the design criteria for number 3, and I will not be approving it.
Any other comment from council? Oh, Shauna, yes, please, go ahead. Councilmember Ambrose.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I am going to be voting against this because it is not. I appreciate how Texas Roadhouse has flipped things around and there are more pedestrian features, and I also appreciate how the parking is set up so that the entrance is ADA accessible, with people who are wheelchair users being able to park right next to the entrance. But the fact that there is not a pedestrian entrance, which I think is part of the vision of Newtown to be very pedestrian friendly. I'm torn on this because sometimes developments come in that are not part of the ideal plan for the area. And as Councilmember Marriott says, like, this is the compromise is part of development. And I can think of like Aura redevelopments on Ralston Road when Walmart was the only place that would come into this blighted area that is now a super vibrant, dense area. But Walmart itself being single story and not and not super dense itself, but it was the anchor retailer. So I can see Texas Roadhouse serving that sort of functionality. So I think for the first modification I'll be approving, but the second one where it really is not pedestrian friendly enough for people walking by to be able to kind of have that community gathering sort of experience because the patio space is not large enough as well. So if this proceeds, I would, I'm going to be voting no, but I would encourage Texas Roadhouse to increase the patio area and increase accessibility for pedestrian traffic to be able to frequent the restaurant.
Thank you, Councilmember Ambrose. All right, seeing no further comment, I will add my comment here. I'm troubled by this because we do have a community process in which we have developed these plans, and council has passed the sub-area plan for Newtown a year ago, and we made these changes to the land development code to help meet the community vision. And I do feel like there's this desire by our community to have a more pedestrian-friendly prioritization along this route. And so, you know, I think that if we continue down this road of approving projects and asking and getting modifications, we're not going to ever get to those vision that the community has stated. So under criteria 1, I will be voting no on both these modifications and hope that we can work with the Roadhouse to make some needed adjustments that will help meet those requirements. Seeing no further comments, I will start our voting. All right, all votes are cast. Councilmember Ambrose, how do you vote on this first modification?
The first modification is yes.
Okay. Okay, that does not pass. It is 3-3. We will move on to the second modification. Do I have a motion or discussion? Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Well, I'm going to support this motion because understanding what's there today and what we're getting, that our residents enjoy the patronizing this, I think they have done a great job increasing the windows. As far as what they've done to cover the trash, it's going to be a known fact of any business whatsoever is going to have this problem. But then putting a top on it will help shield some of that from Old Town. You know, having a business across the street from here for a couple of years, I think the thing here is a little frustrated where council's going with this, because this is on a per parcel. I agree with Mr. Marriott on this. It was a master plan for the entire property be looked at, and it's being taken as in the 1 acre is changing. And so therefore we need high density and everyone needs to be walking. And sometimes that comes to fruition, sometimes it doesn't. And what we do is we do the best we can that supports the longevity and the vibrancy of our community. You know, I'm going to plead that the council kind of think through this a little bit, because if we lose certain businesses, we also start losing our community. So we just need to be very clear of what our actions are tonight. So I'll be supporting this. I think they've done a great job in it. I know what they have today, and what they're doing tomorrow is at least in the best in compliance. And there is proof that our recent development with In-N-Out Burger was very clear. We made modifications, and as a council, we approved that. So just putting it out there that, you know, this has a lot more visibility and more transparency than other organizations and companies we've approved.
Thank you. Councilmember Pfeiffer, any other comments? And you did make the motion, correct?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Give me a second. I got to get back to it. All right. Let me keep going down. I move that the major modifications for the Land Development Code subsection 5-1-3-1B6 that requires transparent window and/or doors on a minimum 50% of the wall area between 2 and 10 feet, very specific, above grade on facade facing a street from a building generally located at 5550 Wadsworth Boulevard in the city of Arvada be approved. This motion is based on the finding of fact of the staff report.
Thank you. Councilmember Pfeiffer, Councilmember Marriott.
I'll be voting yes on this second major modification. I think Texas Roadhouse has more than met the requirement, actually. You know, they've done everything they possibly can on the south face. And on the west face, while it's not possible for them to put the required windows there, I think they've done something far better, and that's the patio, the cafe-style patio. And I think this might be an opportunity for our team to help us re-examine this piece of the Land Development Code, because it seems to me that it works in opposition to itself. And that you know, it seems to me that an either or. What we're talking about is the experience of someone driving by or walking by that western side. When there's a patio, that to me is greater than 3 more windows. And I think this absolute strict adherence to what was kind of some rough orders of magnitude of planning is the enemy of good design here. I think the Texas Roadhouse folks, again, have done a great job. I would encourage those of you on the prevailing side of this previous motion to think about it, and would encourage one of you to make a motion to reconsider that, because I think you're completely wrong here on the first motion, and we'll see what the vote is on the second motion. I think, you know, there's a couple sayings out there. There's don't let the perfect get in the way of the good, or don't let your aspirations ruin what you can do. I think, you know, I look at the things cities do. We need sales tax revenue to do that. We also need goods and services for our residents. I think one of the largest complaints we've had, Mr. Pfeiffer would agree with this over time, is people out west want more dining options and restaurants and dining options. And if this were proposed out there, you know, you'd find the community hugely supportive of it. And for us to turn down something like that on this side is quite perplexing, I guess, might be the nicest way I can put that. But I think that the Texas Roadhouse provides clearly a popular option. They're well supported. You drive by that parking lot any day and it's full. It's a well-operated restaurant. To my knowledge, we haven't had any problems or any negative consequences of having this business located in our town. They collect significant sales tax revenue, and that sales tax revenue is what the city uses to patch the roads when we decide to do it and buy homeless centers when we decide to do that. And without that, we chase business away. The ability to do all those things that cities are supposed to do and then the things cities want to do goes away as well. And so I think it's a mistake. But on the question of transparency, I will certainly be voting yes on this modification.
Thank you, Councilmember Marriott. Next, I have Councilmember Foray.
Yes, I think one of the things that I appreciate about this council is we do have differing opinions, and the way you approach it in a constructive manner is really helpful to help other people think through. I think I hear you, Councilmember Pfeiffer, that it's a give and take, and that this is an area where we do have a vision of something different that it's currently existing, but they're trying and they are a good neighbor, and I think that has a lot of value in what we're trying to do. So while I do think that we need to consider our plan of the subplan, I think we also do need to see it holistically. And I appreciate you working within the confines of what you are able to, prototype and everything. The patio point that Councilmember Marriott made, I think is valid, right? If you have a full patio, there's value of that over windows. So I appreciate some of those points, and I will take that into consideration.
Thank you, Councilmember Foray. Councilmember Davis.
The patio pushed me to yes.
And Councilmember Ambrose, do you wish to speak to this motion?
I'll just say briefly that I still would appreciate more pedestrian friendliness in addition to the patio, like a second entrance for people to be able to access it. So I'm still going to be voting no.
Thank you, Councilmember Ambrose. I again appreciate the work that the applicant has done. Per my questions earlier, I feel like more can be done, and so that's what I'm looking for. And so I'm hoping that, depending on how this vote turns out, but I will be voting no on this motion. And if it does not pass, or even if it does, I hope that the applicant will continue to work with our team to meet the requirements. All right, seeing no further discussion, I will start voting. All votes have been cast. Councilmember Ambrose, how do you vote?
No.
Thank you. And that passes 4-2. All right, that will conclude the hearing on that item. And next we will move to public hearing 10B as it relates to the Northwest Jeffco Library.
Mayor Pro Tem Mormon, just as a quick note, I know that Councilmember Marriott had suggested a potential reconsideration of the first motion. If you would like, if anyone on the prevailing side, what that means is that someone who was on the winning side of the motion would have to move to reconsider that item. So I just wanted to check in with council, lay out that process, and make certain that no one on the prevailing side wanted to make a motion to reconsider.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Ms. Morris. I am not seeing that from any request from council. So with that, we will proceed to the public hearing on the Jeffco Library. So I will now open the public hearing for the following items related to the Northwest Jeffco Library. B, in Northwest Jeffco Library request for a major comprehensive plan amendment and rezoning for a 9.4 acre parcel approximately located at Candelas Parkway and West 92nd Drive, including 1, CP 2024-0002, a resolution by the Planning Commission for the City of Arvada, Colorado, to amend the 2014 Arvada Comprehensive Plan land use designation pertaining to Candelas Point from City of Arvada Mixed Use to City of Arvada Neighborhood and Community Commercial Office, a parcel of land located on the south side of Candelas Parkway between Wilkerson Court and West 92nd Drive in the City of Arvada and State of Colorado. And 2, CB 24-008, an ordinance rezoning certain land within the City of Arvada, Lot 1 and Lot 2, Block 2, Candelas Commercial Filing Number 2, otherwise known as Candelas Point, from PUD Planned Unit Development to CG Commercial General, and amending the official zoning maps of the City of Arvada, Colorado, generally located on the south side of Candelas Parkway between Wilkerson Court and West 92nd Drive, ordinance number 4874. And Rob Smetana, Manager of City Planning and Development, will be making the staff presentation on this one as well.
Thank you. And I will make this brief. As you mentioned, it is a proposal for a comprehensive plan amendment to change the land use designation on this particular parcel to neighborhood and community commercial, which more closely fits with the proposed use on the site. And then the rezoning request from plan unit development to commercial general, again, which is more fitting for this particular use, although either one of those categories for either one of those uses would still work for this particular user. And both of those changes are consistent with designated uses on other parcels as well. During their June 18th meeting, the Planning Commission approved the comprehensive plan amendment and recommended that the council ratify that amendment. And the council also the Planning Commission also recommended that the council approve the rezoning request. We have received the signed posting log and mailing affidavit, and they are in order. And the applicant is here for a presentation and questions. We also have Senior Planner Jeremiah Bebo here to answer questions as well.
Thank you. The notice and posting log are accepted as part of the record. So anyone who wishes to testify on this matter, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will be giving in these proceedings will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. And now we will proceed with the applicant making their presentation.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having us on your agenda today. I'm Donna Walker. I'm Executive Director for Jefferson County Public Library. So we have the Northwest Jefferson County Library Project. We are requesting a comprehensive plan amendment and rezoning application for a property located in the City of Arvada. Jefferson County Public Library identified a need for a new library due to projected population growth. It is part of our facility master plan. It is fully funded. The library conducted extensive market analyses with key data points for us of a future population in this area in the county nearing 45,000 by the year 2050. The library held extensive community engagement with community leaders and elected officials, and also held a neighborhood meeting as required by the city. In addition, we held a conceptual design charrette with members of the local community to understand their needs. The larger pink area here is what we call our library service area, and the smaller blue shaded area on the map is our property search area for this library. The library found this optimal location, that small blue dot, for a new library in the City of Arvada located between Wilkerson Court, 92nd Avenue, and Candelas Parkway. So now Steve Chestnut, our Director of Facilities and Construction, will present our rezoning requests.
Thank you, Donna. Good evening, Council. As Mayor Pro Tem and Mr. Smeaton have already indicated, we have two requests tonight from the Council. The first one is to change the comprehensive plan that would move the property from mixed use to a neighborhood and community commercial office. The next one is a rezoning change, and we'd ask for that rezoning to be changed from PUD to commercial general to better align with library development. Now, one of the common questions that seems to arise out of any construction or development is the impact it's going to have on traffic. We had a traffic engineering firm that developed the Candelas master plan, or master traffic study, evaluate the impacts of the library over what was planned in that master study. What they concluded was that overall, the library would result in 59 fewer daily trips than was anticipated in that master plan. A reduction in future traffic, we feel, would support to further enhance the signal project that's underway in 92nd right now in Candelas. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Max McCluskey with F&M Architects to talk to you a little bit about concepts at high level. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, City Council. So I just wanted to walk through some of the conceptual thinking around the development of the site. This is all preliminary, but it's a product of the engagement sessions we had with the community leaders and library staff. So kind of coming from the outside in, we collaborated with Martin & Martin, civil engineers who have designed a lot of the Candelas infrastructure to locate our curb cuts or main access points to the site off of 92nd. They can also see on the west, it aligns with the existing intersection to create a four-way intersection as kind of that main western entry point. We're exceeding the minimum parking requirements to meet the library's need for the 30,000 square foot proposed building. And then really worked a lot with understanding the site activation, bringing in pedestrian trails or a network through each corner of the site that would have the goal of connecting to the larger trail system that surrounds the site there at Candelas. And then creating outdoor programming for the library, reading nooks, outdoor public art, and kind of leaving a lot of it to native prairie vegetation and being strategic about designed landscaping. And then a major feature of the library throughout all their locations is an outdoor children's discovery area, which you can see as that kind of pink shape to the east of the building. And then potentially just to the south of that, partnerships with outside partners for a learning garden space. The building itself is strategically located to mitigate those incredible winds that are very present on that site. We looked at kind of taking the 30,000 square feet and breaking it into 3 different cubes to potentially relate better to the single-family context that surrounds the site up there in Candelas, with south-facing shed roofs to provide great opportunity for photovoltaic arrays and sustainable strategies there. And then a major public feature, again, trying to be blocked from that wind, is the public plazas that come off the southeast side of the building, accessible, for ADA needs, and the potential for tiered seating and maybe an amphitheater environment that could be used by the public. And then lastly, you can't see it as well in this site plan, but off the west side of the library, the east side of the larger volume there, the idea of an outdoor patio to activate the site, in 3 seasons, and really create some much needed amenity space up there in Candelas. I think that's kind of the high level overview of the site design.
Anything further on the presentation for the project? Okay, great. All right, then I am going to open the public comment portion of the hearing. And we do have one person signed up, so I will call Miss Kim Johnson. Please come up and state your name and your address, and you will have 3 minutes.
Good evening, City Council. Thank you. My name is Kim Johnson. I reside at 17340 West 70th Avenue in Arvada, and I have for more than 20 years. I also currently am proud to serve as the chair of the Jefferson County Public Library Board of Trustees. And I'm honored to be here tonight to speak in support of the Comprehensive Plan Amendment and Rezoning application. We are very excited to facilitate this new branch in Northwest Arvada, and the project has its roots in the voters' support of the mill levy in 2015 for JCPL. This is a critical piece of our capital plan, and at the risk of sounding repetitive, we are just so excited as a board to be moving forward and to be coming to the Candelas neighborhood. We believe it's vital to provide library resources to this quickly growing community, and not just the books and, if you're like me, ebooks that you probably all think of, but computers and Wi-Fi access and meeting rooms and programming and all of the other services that the library provides our community. It's an important step tonight. It'll help the library move forward in achieving our goals, and we just know that it'll be a great essential destination for Northwest Arvada. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the chambers who would like to speak to this matter? Seeing none, and we don't have any online, I will close the public comment portion. And I will open up the hearing for councilmember questions and action. Councilmember Marriott.
A question for the applicant, whoever wants to take it. Somebody stand up.
I'll come up here and see what your question is. Thank you.
The question I have is, since you're starting with a clean slate here, how are you designing this to be resistant to being taken away from the public by homeless people? And I know that may sound like a strange question, knowing that this library is being built out in Candelas, but I can tell you 20 years ago, or more than 20 years ago, when the library was moved to Old Town, that was not on anybody's mind, but yet today, that library has become virtually useless to almost anybody who lives in the neighborhood or in the area to use it, and I think your own data would probably show the Stanley Lake Library gets used significantly more than this does and all that. And so I think what I'm trying to get at is, over a long period of time, which this library will be there for a significant period of time, there can be very significant differences in the world over that time, and it's best to contemplate those things when it's being built. And knowing that that's probably one of the biggest threats to libraries these days is that a very small fraction of the population essentially takes them away from a large segment of the population. Are you doing anything up front with the design of the building, with the layout, with the operational plan, with any features to ensure that that won't be a repeat in 20 years, that 20 years from now, there's not councils trying to deal with these types of issues?
Well, thank you for your questions. Our site design is conceptual. This isn't the site application. This is just the ideas we got based on the layout of the site and the community's inputs into what might happen there. The library is used by many people in our community, and we have thousands of people who use each one of our locations, probably see 6,000 people a day through our locations for all kinds of reasons, and that's our physical locations. We have security procedures in place. We have training for staff. We have I don't want to debate whether or not how well the Arvada Library is used in Old Town, but it does see quite a bit of use from families and others on a daily basis. So I will certainly take into consideration if there is concern that in this location there will be something that happens in the entire community that has something where there are many unhoused people who don't have housing, somehow coming to this library in a way that isn't expected, then it certainly would be something we'd be paying attention to as we develop our services and our site plan.
Thank you. Councilmember Pfeiffer.
So, one of my colleagues made a question to me, and it rings in my ear a little bit. How committed is this plan? Because if we rezone it and you don't do it, and then you sell it, you own this land, or you're about to buy this land? I just want to make sure.
We will close after the vote.
Okay.
If I can say that we will, if the vote is in our favor, we will close on the property and move forward. Our board is committed. We are committed.
Yeah, the reason these zones are there is because this is our last greenfield area, and I think we as council need to be a little bit picky when it's greenfield like this of what we can do out there and not. And it's not unheard of rezoning it and then the project dissolves and then you just sell it and it's been rezoned and now I don't have a library out there, So we're pretty confident it's moving forward, right?
Thank you for the question. We have the money in our fund balance. We have.
Ready to rock and roll. And when will it be open, if you get approval?
We're looking at early to mid 2027.
Okay. I'll reserve the motion when questions are done.
Thank you, Councilmember Pfeiffer. Next, Councilmember Davis.
Well, I, for one, am very excited about this. As I was campaigning, one of the issues that came up was a lack of a library out in the Northwest, and there are libraries everywhere else in Arvada. Those poor people out in Candelas without access to a library, God bless them. So I think this is great. What I really do like is the design. You put in there some activating areas where kids can run and play and commune together outside of a school environment, and I think that's exciting. Could there be unhoused folks out there wanting to use your facility? Absolutely. But without a computer, you can't apply for a job. Without a computer, you can't get your necessary documents. And so that is something that I think is a wonderful resource that the library has. Not everyone is going to take advantage of you, mostly because there aren't a lot of restaurants out there. There's not a lot of amenities to attract folks, but I know that this is something that's been on people's radars, and I'm really excited to see this move forward. So if you close after this, let us know when the ribbon cutting is, because I'm excited.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Davis. Any other comments? Well, I too am very excited about this project and like the design that you have with the the space outside, activation spaces for children, and of course I'm a fan of the solar panels on top. So really appreciate the thought that's gone into that, and I just like the overall look from what I can see. So I think it'll be a great addition and a huge asset to our community. So thank you for the work you've done on this. All right, I think then we are ready for the motion.
All right, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I move that CP 2024-0002, a resolution by the Planning Commission for the City of Arvada, Colorado, to amend the 2014 Arvada Comprehensive Plan land use designation pertaining to Candelas Point from the City of Arvada mixed use to the City of Arvada Neighborhood and Community Commercial Office, a parcel of land located at the south side of Candelas Parkway between Wilkerson Court and West 92nd Drive in the City of Arvada and the State of Colorado be ratified and approved. This motion is based on the finding of fact adopted by the Planning Commission.
Any further discussion before voting? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. Ms. Ambrose, how do you vote?
It's Reverend Ambrose or Councilmember Ambrose.
I'm so sorry, Councilmember Ambrose.
It is, I vote yes.
Thank you. And that passes 6-0.
I move that Council Bill 24-008, an ordinance rezoning certain lands within the City of Arvada, Lot 1 and 2, Block 2, Candelas Commercial Filing Number 2, otherwise known as Candelas Point, from PUD, Planned Unit Development, to CG, Commercial General, and amending the official zoning maps of the city of Arvada, Colorado, generally located on the south side of Candelas Parkway between Wilkerson Court and West 92nd Drive, be approved on final reading number 4874 in order published by title only. This motion is based on the finding of fact. I think that's probably more than I need to say.
All right, please proceed to vote.
Can I make a comment, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, please go ahead.
You know, I just want to say, I think the library, you have one of those, I don't know what they're called, but the little drop box for library out there at the pool. I don't know how well it's used, but I know the citizens were out there were asking for that. You know, and in light of changes within Jefferson School District with closing of schools and stuff, schools become a staple, and so do libraries for the community. And knowing that the Coal Creek Canyon might be changing with their schools up there, this is just furthering the reason why this is important to be down there. And, you know, there is a lot of people that stay home, and there's a lot of kids in the neighborhood. In fact, you know, they're redrawing the lines because it's too crowded out there now with kids. Now it's crazy how many kids are out there, but there's probably more dogs. There's always more dogs. So if you have something with a dog thing on there, that might be good. But I just really appreciate the fact that you're creative in doing a sense of place. One of the things out in Candelas that we've always envisioned, or even Western Arvada, is really creating a sense of place, a place where people can gather. You're just adding to that. Now, granted, I agree with some concerns that could happen down the road, but as long as you have an operational plan to address those. I also agree with Councilmember Davis on if you need to apply. There's only computers, so places. We need to get people employed. So just really being sure that we're thoughtful in our operational plan out there and really engage in creating a safe place for everyone to enjoy your services and protecting the community at the same time. So I'll obviously be supporting this, and it's exciting to see this finally moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you. And Councilmember Ambrose, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. All votes have been cast, and that passes 6-0. And that concludes our hearing. Thank you. Good luck in getting the deal sealed. All right, at this time, we'll move to our public comment for 5 minutes. Do we have anyone in the chambers who wishes to speak during this public comment period? Yes, please come on down. Welcome, and please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Dan Bradley, 8047 Field Court, Arvada. What I want to address is what was discussed on July 8th, the homeless strategic plan. I listened to the YouTube at least twice and tried to understand it. My first comment is, I was always raised to be a responsible person, and so I think that each person is responsible for themselves, number one. And I want to thank Vicky Ariati, for her comments, because she lived the experience. And to me, I respect that more than anything because she lived it. She knows what you have to do to get from the bottom of her life to where she was successful. I've been in business in Arvada for over 40 years. The last 7 years, we had a factory in Arvada near Sheridan and Ralston. I was always looking for help. I drove around the city of Arvada frequently. I probably handed out 100 business cards to people with cardboard signs. I would ask them to get in the car and go with me. I had a job for them where we paid between $20 and $60 an hour. That's $40,000 to $120,000 a year or more, plus benefits and holidays and vacation. They wouldn't get in the car, not one. I gave them my business card and I said, can you come tomorrow? Because you seem to be busy today. I'll be there. Not one person out of 100 showed up. They didn't want a job. They wanted a handout. So my point is, we need to do what Vicki had suggested. Let these people earn their keep in life. I work with Bob Cote. I don't know if any of you know who he is. He started Step 13 30 years ago. And I hired people from his organization, at least 10 of them. They would come to my facility, and some of them were great. They would work hard and try to better themselves, but I'd say 8 out of those 10 would work for a while, and they'd say, this is too much like work. So, but one guy I kept in contact with for years, and he was real sharp. He just got on drugs and goofed up. I believe in helping people. I have my sister-in-law who has been working in social services somehow for 25 years. She worked in the city of Denver. She was a board of directors for the Action Center. My brother has been 25 years working in Loveland for the adoption children's home in Loveland, trying to do things. But those two organizations both have one thing in common. They have a way to get income into the facility. In other words, they take people's things like ARC does or Goodwill or whatever, and they recycle this product, and they resell it, and they finance that orphanage primarily from that. And they do the same at the Arvada Center, which I know, or the Action Center, I'm sorry, and I think it's in Lakewood. If you haven't been there, you should go there and ask them for a tour. They have their own counselors, they have refrigerators and food and everything right in the one building. The next point I guess I'd like to make is that it really puzzles me that the city of Arvada, Wheat Ridge, Lakewood, and Golden each have to climb the same mountain 4 times. Why don't we take those 4 cities, they're the 4 primary cities, and focus on one thing, that is to do something like the Action Center, located somewhere between Golden and Lakewood, close to the RTD train. And you just said we closed 16 schools or whatever it was in Jefferson County. I know those are zone schools, but I would like for somebody to look into that, because it's a perfect canvas for putting men in one room, women in another room, families in another room. They have a place for activities. There's places for kids to play, all those things, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So I think I'd like everybody to try to put their heads together before you start spending $10 to $20 million 4 times, and do it once, and get all these people. Also, my daughter, I know my time's up. My daughter lives in Florida. I've traveled the state extensively. I was just in Tennessee for 2 weeks. There are no homeless people there. None. I've driven every place. They don't exist. I asked a policeman, what'd you do with all your homeless people? Move them to Colorado? No. They take care of their people, but they do it through action centers. Not just taxing the people. Let the people work for themselves.
Thank you for your comment. All right. Yes, would you like to come forward?
When my daughter was 12 and my twins, my hyperactive ADHD twins, were 3.5, I was getting a substance. I was on welfare. I had found a house. I couldn't stand being at that Lakewood shelter at Wadsworth and Wadsworth and Colfax. That was a horrible experience. You couldn't sleep at night because all the babies screaming and crying. You couldn't close your door. You couldn't take a nap during the day. You had to be out of your room, and I was exhausted. And after a week, it was the most horrible experience I've ever had. So I finally got a welfare check. Found a house. The rent was $400 a month. The utilities was $130 a month. I got a welfare check for $531. I signed my welfare check over to my landlord. He gave me back $1. I went and got food stamps. I stood in line to get food stamps at that time. Social Services helped me with a $30 a week stipend for fun for the kids. But we didn't have anything, so I didn't use it for fun for the kids. But I did ask the kids, I said, you guys want to help me clean the house? Because the twins were destroying everything. And I'll pay you an allowance. My daughter put her hands on her hips and she says, I'm not working for my money. You don't work for yours. You get a check in the mail and you go stand in line for food stamps. I'm not working. I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to stop. So I went to my bishop at church and I said, I need to get off of welfare. I need to do something. The only thing I know how to do is clean houses, and I can make some money cleaning houses. I've got to get, my church backed me up. I went out and I've got flyers printed up. 3 of my kids took one side of the street. I took the twins on one side of the street. We went out and put out flyers for cleaning. My kids were taught that, no, you don't have to stay on welfare. You can have a life without taking from people, and you can contribute back. And you can be independent, and you can have that dignity that you're taking care of yourself. And that I broke that cycle of welfare, because when my daughter was 16, she was living with the family because it was hard living at home with me. I was a mental wreck because I was always broke, and the twins were so hyper. She came home and she moved back in pregnant. She was working at Taco Bell. She got a raise, and she became a shift manager, and she took care of her baby. She worked at night, I worked during the day, I took care of my grandbaby, and she didn't have to go on welfare. She didn't want to go on welfare. I'm just saying that when you give people a hand up, it's kind of like being, there were struggles. There was a lot of struggles. I made more money on welfare than I did working. But I had my dignity. My kids had their dignity. Every single one of them, none of them have ever gone on welfare. They struggle. They fight. They saw me fight for everything that we got. There was a family of 5 on the side of the street on Wadsworth several years ago. You could tell they were desperate because they were about to get evicted. People would stop by, give them money, give them money, give them money, and pretty soon the next month, they were out there again. The next month, they were out there again. I made a decision when I was to stop the welfare because I was sitting, you have to go every 6 months to get recertified. There were husband and wife and children looking very dirty and grungy, sitting there sucking on cigarettes, complaining about Reaganomics taking away their benefits. Get out and go to work. You're able-bodied. All I'm saying is I would love to see this resource center, I don't know what the name of the center is, but I would like to see it be a self-sufficiency where you've got a safe environment, you don't have to worry about bills, but you have to be contributing towards, like the Women's Bean Project. There's Open Door, there's agencies that we can model after, that we can give people back their dignity and give them a hand up and not a hand out and weaken them. It's like that caterpillar that spins a cocoon, and they're a mess in there when they transform into a butterfly. But if you try to help that butterfly get out of the cocoon and you split it open, the butterfly is going to die because it doesn't have the strength in its wings to fly. When you give people an opportunity to benefit themselves and take responsibility for themselves, they develop the strength to succeed. If you're just going to feed them and house them, you're going to have a problem like Denver has right now. They're stressed. They can't sustain it. It's not sustainable. You can't, and they're back on the streets.
Vicki, I'm sorry, your time is up.
Thank you for listening. I hope you consider making this something that will sustain itself with fundraising and people working together in their community.
Thank you. Thank you for your... Yes, we have another public comment. Please come up, state your name and address.
Good evening, Council. I am Jordan Green and live at 5210 Garrison Street. Don't tread on me, tread on them. That is the flag of NIMBYism and seemingly Marriott's motto, though some of you other council members have expressed the same sentiment at times. I probably align with you politically, Marriott, more so than anyone else on council, believe it or not, financially conservative and socially libertarian. You know, fiscal responsibility and live and let live, more or less, but your discourse in these chambers says otherwise. Texas Roadhouse is actually one of the few subjects I agree with you on, and I'm allergic to peanuts, but I generally share the same view as my fellow community members on mixed use and pedestrian-friendly development. Anyways, if you're actually tired of the government stepping in and using taxpayer money to at least attempt to solve problems, then allow the free market to perform. But you can't constantly protest subsidized housing, continue to block or not alleviate the free market's ability to act, and reject many of the ideas the city presents to you without ever offering a legitimate alternative solution. On May 13th, in regards to the Housing Strategic Plan, Policy Lever 2 to modify land use and zoning, your reference to 3 properties you own that are already zoned higher density than you have established, you stated, and I quote, "Changing the zoning changes nothing. And creating a policy and lever here to do that would seem to say that there's not enough places in Arvada that are zoned dense enough for the market to create enough housing, but yet there's some percentage of it that is not developed up to its ultimate zoning already, and the question is, well, why is that?" End of quote. When you, the free market, aren't meeting the demand, the city or other levels of government seem to have to step in. Arvada is supposedly 80+% developed, and the city can't force you, the local landowner, to add on or meet your zoning density threshold, but they can encourage it and make it easier to do so. Density is also a spectrum, and interestingly, you approve the higher end of that spectrum, at least around city centers, right? There's a photo of you breaking ground on the 252-unit Russell development in Old Town. However, you are generally against loosening up ADU and minimum parking requirements and allowing people to build duplexes or triplexes, which are on the lower end of the density spectrum. You would rather have a 6-story warehouse with balconies than allow the slightest density increase to single-family neighborhoods because of aesthetics. Well, no neighborhood should experience radical change, and no neighborhood should be exempt from change. Housing also can't be both a good investment and generally affordable. The only way to combat subsidized housing is increasing the supply, so why not allow it to happen incrementally? Someone should be able to pop their top and add a second story or an ADU without your approval. We need a lower bar of entry, both for people seeking housing and for people creating it. Yes, both sides can win. There is a relationship between taxes, population density, and city services too. You can't have low taxes, low density, and have stable city services, which is Arvada's current situation. There aren't enough funds to cover infrastructure maintenance, and the 10-year forecast looks more dismal. A strong town doesn't necessarily mean increasing density either. It means having infrastructure that's appropriate to the density you have, which means, yes, if you want to justify extensive wide paved roads and town water, density matters. So the question is, if you want to maintain low density and possess sustainable city services, you have to increase taxes. Therefore, what is the tax base needed to meet city service needs? However, you're worried about people paying 15 cents more a month for a service they don't use, but then potentially okay with increasing sales tax or some other tax to meet the road maintenance gap. Whereas, being one of your constituents, I'm worried about the ROA on my contribution to your city paycheck. On the other hand, if you prefer low taxes and desire sustainable city services, you have to accept higher density, therefore how many people are needed to share the current load. Continuing to add to the housing supply with all types beyond the demand is the primary prevention to homelessness. But the catches are, 1, every city has to do the same. right? Because it's regional, well, actually a national problem that, again, is only getting worse. And two, open up transportation options. We can't have higher density and everyone driving. Having alternatives to driving helps reduce traffic, increase the financial strength of the city and resident, and ultimately helps prevent homelessness, but these catches don't mean Arvada should wait and be a follower of some other city or state. You also can't complain about homeless, make it someone else's problem, and then claim the problem is solved. I expect Old Town business owners and managers to be better community members than just desiring to relocate their problem to a different neighborhood, regardless if you're in their ear or not. Finally, you're one of the reasons why I decided to get more involved and learn. You, like many, are nonstop complaining about homeless, housing subsidies, traffic, road maintenance, etc., and never asking why or looking deeper into each issue and never doing anything to help solve the problems, only desiring to continue status quo while the issues grow larger. Your desires and needs do not trump other people's, and nothing stays the same forever. Change is inevitable, and ensuring that change provides the greatest benefit, not just for you, but for everyone or as many people as possible, should be your focus.
Can you please wrap up? Your time has expired.
I said in my last public address I was going to challenge you, so here I am, challenging you, all of you, but specifically you, Councilmember Marriott, to do and be better. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other folks signed up? No? Okay. Then that will close our public comment for this evening. And we will move on to reports. So do we have any members of council that would like to share the report? And I see Councilmember Pfeiffer first.
Well, next week I will not be here. I'll be out of town. So, and then I believe after that we do not have, I think it's the fifth Monday. So we do not have. So I don't expect anyone to follow, but I just wanted to thank Lori for her service to the city and prior to us, the school district. And appreciate it. I won't have a personal time to tell you that before you leave. So I just wanted to make sure I took the time to thank you for your service and thank you for everything you have done for the city and wish you the best in your endeavors. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Pfeiffer. Councilmember Marriott.
Thank you. A couple things. First of all, Jordan, thank you for coming. I appreciate the comments. You will not be surprised to find I disagree with some, maybe even most of what you say, but I think points well taken, and I think it's also important that this be a place where people can come and say that, and I can take it. I've had the pleasure of speaking to you one-on-one before, and I hope I have it again. Again, I would disagree with some of the things you said and some of the characterizations that you made there, but I also understand you're welcome to your own opinion. I did want to say something tonight about the homeless strategic plan that we saw last week at a workshop. That's a difficult subject. I think it's a subject full of absolute peril for the city, and maybe a spot where I spoke harshly. I may have used a couple of words I would have used differently had I had time to really consider what I was thinking. But I think it also is true that there is a very wide variety of opinions on these types of things. This is new territory for cities to wade into. And I really didn't want any of my comments to offend anybody, particularly the city team, city staff, who's worked really hard on trying to do that. And so if I did, I apologize to you guys for that. But I will stick by my most important point from that night and from that presentation, and that was how important it is that if we're going to embark into a course of action where we take on some sort of human services responsibility, something, by the way, that cities don't have, that counties do, that they seem to be abdicating their responsibility of, but that if we take that on, that we fulfill one of the original tenets of producing these human services, and that is that we permanently relocate these services away from Old Town. And not because of who's delivering those services or what services they're delivering, but it's because it's a radically incompatible land use. And as one of the things that we absolutely are responsible for here on council is land use, as we just heard. And I think it's important for us to not only guide land use, be flexible about changing, but also cure bad land use problems when we come across them. And there is no better example of that than the distribution of homeless services right in the middle of our business district. And it is very important that if we take additional actions that involve expenditures of large amount of public money, that those come with the curing of these bad land use issues that we have. So that's what I have to say about that tonight. Thank you. Jordan, thank you. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. I'd love to talk to you again sometime when you want to, and everybody have a great night.
Thank you, Councilmember Marriott, and I do echo those sentiments of this is the place for this discourse. I appreciate the conversation. I will next call on Councilmember Davis.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Couple of things. Number one, some of you may have remembered that in 2011 I came in front of council when Denver passed its camping ban, and I implored council to work with its faith-based communities because they're coming. And sure enough, 6 weeks later, way before the G line, they came. They came on bikes, they came on buses, and we did nothing. And so now, here we are 13 years later, and we're attempting to do something. And I know government is slow, but had we taken steps back in 2011, we may have been able to maybe sidestep this crisis and do something then. I'm excited that we're making forward progress at last. So that's very important to me to say that Arvada, while we didn't do it in the past, we're doing it now, and we're going to do it the right way because we've seen what everyone else has done and what works and what doesn't work. So I'm very excited about Arvada doing that. So now I'm going to pivot to, it was a very busy weekend for Arvada, and I'm very excited about it. Arvada on Tap was, while hot, was very popular. Thank you to the community for coming out. Thank you to all the vendors. Arvada Festivals Committee did a fantastic job. And then I skedaddled over to the Flour Mill where the Historical Society had the raising of the Arva Pride flag. So if you have a chance to go and see that, that was really exciting. And I attended a couple of block parties and ended the weekend-ish at Second Saturday, which was amazing. There were a lot of people. So excited about Arvada and what we've been doing and how we've been growing. And we're growing smartly. And part of our smart growth is attending to all levels of our residents and folks here, those who can care for themselves and those who are on the way to caring for themselves and are very successful. So thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Councilmember Davis and Councilmember Ambrose. And again, I apologize for my misspeaking earlier. Councilmember Ambrose.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's all right. Yes, I wanted to say that I attended the Taste of Arvada, which was an amazing event, and kudos to the Chamber of Commerce for bringing together Arvadan businesses and food vendors at the Apex Center for a very delicious event. So if you all missed it this year, please make sure that you get your tickets ready for next year because it was amazing. So thanks to all of our business vendors who came to that and pulled off another wonderful event. The other event that I attended is the Cross Purpose had their graduation at the Bridge, which is another amazing facility in our city that provides services for people who I didn't realize that the Bridge has 14 different agencies. 14 different things that to be able to support people who at all points and walks in life to be successful in our town, in our community, and Cross Purpose is one of those agencies who is working with people who provides them with economic opportunity, education in order to lift out of poverty. And I definitely appreciate their approach and their presence in Arvada, and the graduation was very moving. So much appreciation to Cross Purpose. I also want to address that I think a blatant mischaracterization of the homeless plan that was presented is that the city is offering services. It is a clear point in the plan that the city is not offering any additional services. It is organizing services, and it is taking leadership with agencies like the county to say, hey, we have this issue. You are supposed to be providing this service. Here's a place where you can do that. I also would encourage the members of the public to look through the plan, because at every step of the way of the plan, it has it very detailed. It's 40 pages, but there is no unfunded mandates in the plan. It is when we have achieved finalized funding from this partner, when we have raised enough funds at this stage, then we will move to the next stage. So the burden will not be shouldered by Arvada taxpayers alone for what is a regional problem. There are many partnerships and coordination, and I appreciate the discussion for people to look into this plan. I am also very passionate on the issue of people who have barriers to housing, because when I was born, I did not have a house. I was born at a hotel. I did not have a house for 2 weeks. My father went to a trailer park and asked people if he could be a maintenance man part-time on top of his full-time job in the military to get a discount. And that was the first home I ever had, was a trailer park. So I grew up on WIC, and I grew up on these different services, and my family also worked hard. And I want to let you all know that we have all of these expertise bringing in to be looking at the homelessness plan from people like myself who were born without a home, people to like Councilmember Ferre, who have worked with homeless people as her main job from as a social worker, people like Councilmember Davis, who have worked with Denver's government looking at this issue, people like Councilmember Marriott, who represents the businesses very ardently. And so we are working with the top-notch experts like Scott Shields, who was able to get the permanent supportive housing created through the Family Tree program, which is another successful program. So please, when you're coming with your comments, we want to hear them, and I hope you prepare and you look at the plans and you make sure that you understand what you are giving your input to, because we all have a great body of experience, and so does the city, at making sure that we are presenting a plan that is funded, that is effective, and that is really in for the best interest of the city. Because what I want to say is that what we are currently doing is not working. We have arresting people on petty crimes that are caused majority by people who are experiencing homelessness in Old Town. We took people to the county jail. The county jail is refusing them. We have a huge service gap. Doing nothing and just saying, well, it's people's personal problems, or people should deserve a handout. This is really something I want to have people strongly consider if you're feeling that way, because about a quarter of the homeless population are veterans. So I want you to look veterans in the eye and say, you don't deserve any help. This is your individual problem. After you serve this country, I don't care what happened to you. You're on the street. You're not my problem. And I think the majority of our Arvadans actually don't feel that way. I think the majority of Arvadans want to help organize services like the Veterans Administration hospitals, to be able to have permanent supportive housing like what the Family Tree is putting together, and putting together a navigation center that is organizing services, not becoming a service provider, that has a plan for every step of the way to be fully functional. And like I said, is part of the hard work of our outgoing city manager, which should be, really celebrated as the work that she's done. So thank you, everybody, for your comments, and I appreciate you coming them in. And I hope that we take a step from constantly attacking people who have high barriers to housing, from suggesting things that we tell churches to stop offering services to the poor as a solution, that we really become solution focused of, okay, we know this is not working. Trying to take people to jail all the time is not working. Telling churches to not offer services to the poor is not working. Please come with what is working. And we do have evidence-based models of what does work and can work for cities. And that is what the city is trying to do. So thank you for listening to my comments, and I appreciate everybody who is bringing their perspective here tonight.
Thank you, Councilmember Ambrose. I will conclude. I do have 3 announcements, and I'll be very quick. I, too, attended the cross-purpose graduation this week. It was our first class in Arvada. I was very impressed with that program and the testimonies that were provided by the individuals that had gone through that program, helping, walking with people to address those barriers and find independence. And I think it's a good model for us to consider as we develop this homeless strategy. My second announcement is that Councilmember Davis and I will be doing a pie with the police on Monday, July 29th from 6 to 7 p.m. at Enterprise Grange. That's 72nd and Sims. So it's a great opportunity for the public to come and talk to our police department about any concerns and questions they have. They will be providing tips on how to better protect your home and your families. And of course, come with an appetite because I'll be making some pie. And then I will be having my regular coffee chat at Sweet Bloom on Friday, July 26th from 2 to 4, and that's at 77th and Wadsworth. So I believe with that, I will ask the city manager if we have any report from the city manager team.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Mormon. First off, also thank you, Councilmember Pfeiffer, for your comments. And speaking of next week, there's a transition there for you. We will have at 4 o'clock the greenhouse gas inventory and engagement update. So it starts at 4 o'clock next week. And then we have 2 workshops, one on land use and housing legislation update, and then one on water, wastewater, and stormwater rates and fees. So it's going to be a hefty next Monday starting at 4.
I believe Mayor Simpson will be back for that, correct?
You're great tonight.
Well, thank you. Sweating over here, but thank you. Thank you, City Manager Gillis. And any report from our city attorney office?
I don't normally avail myself of this time, but I just thought that I would point out, Councilmember Ferre made a great point tonight about one of the grants that we had up and the approval requirement. Even though it was only $2,000 at issue, we do have a charter requirement that requires that all IGAs be approved by resolution or ordinance. However, you get to determine which IGAs get to be approved by Rezo and which are approved by ordinance, and also the manner in which the resolutions are heard. So if there's any interest on council in changing that policy, there's an underlying policy in section 2-2 of our code. We can always look at that. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
I appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Well, with that, I believe we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.